The Bears dropped the ball in the nation's capital. Is Eberflus on the hot seat? Let's talk about it. Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Monday edition of the 4-Star Chicago Sports Podcast. We are the Halas Hall Hangover, and we're all hungover today. Dustin, Brandon, Kyle, welcome to the show. How you boys doing after a gut punch from the Bears yesterday?
I'm still depressed. I've had a rough day. I can't process it. I'm still. It was such an emotional swing, like very quick emotional swing. Like
it was so fast,
and there were so many. It's like that. You can't control it. We can't control as fans, but it's like there were so many things that could have just been a little different that would have changed the complete result of that game and how we're feeling today. So that's really hard to grasp with as fans, I think.
I know one guy fired up is Kyle down here in the bottom right. How you feeling, bro?
I mean, honestly, Sean, I've talked about this many times on this podcast. I knew this was coming. We knew the Caleb Williams rookie mistakes were coming. We knew he was going to have bad games. We knew he was going to look like this. We've talked about 100 times that Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury are just a better version of Matt Eberflus and Shane Waldron. That came to fruition yesterday. The play calling on the Bears side of the ball was absolutely atrocious. There are positives in this game, guys, but this is the worst feeling I've had after a Bears game in a long, long, long time.
This one's hard. This one's really hard. I put it in some rare air with Bears loss.
This one is very similar to the way I felt after Jay Cutler was riding the bike in that NFC Championship game against
the NFC. I think about that 2010 NFC Championship. Yes.
Very close.
Yes.
Well, boys, this is being dubbed as the Maryland Miracle. And as we sit here, this is the 27th loss in 41 games for our head coach, Matt Eberflus. Not only that, dude, oh, God, this is going to be gut-wrenching to relive, but I'm just going to do it. The Bears under him in the last 16, 20 games have blown 4 games with over 90% win expectancy. If you guys remember, Denver, 98%, Detroit, 98%, Cleveland last year was 91%. And when they had that ball, when they lined up for that Hail Mary, the Bears had a 96.4% chance to win. So keeping Matt Eberflus, to me, as we talked about a couple weeks ago, I said was a huge mistake in January. It's looming even larger now. This guy needs to be fit for a clown suit. I'm sorry, man. Defense is his calling card. Your defensive back is walking up the field 3, 4, 5 seconds. He has his back to the line of scrimmage.
Turned back.
Call a timeout. Get your personnel in order. Dude, he's 3-17 on the road, as Michael pointed out. His only wins are against Bailey Zappi, Sam Howell, and Josh Dobbs. This guy can't. He's got 1 win versus a winning team. That was Detroit last year at the end of the season. This guy, I've lost confidence on the road. I don't know what's going to happen in Arizona because we're going to get into this right now with Kyle over here. He has some home road splits he talked about last week. I want you to get into that, because it reared its ugly head in a game, snatching victory from the jaws of defeat and then being defeated. But whatever. Go ahead. What do you got there, Kyle?
Yeah, Sean, it just surprises me, man, because when you talk about guys like Jared Goff or the Lions or other teams in the NFL, people constantly talk about the home and road splits. People are always like, oh, Detroit's awesome. They're a good team, but, man, they don't want to be on the road to the playoffs. But the Bears do this stuff, and nobody ever talks about it. It's weird to me because I've talked about in the past how I didn't think the Bears were in 6 in a row. I didn't think they were in the next 3, and especially with them being road games, primarily road games. And nobody ever says anything, but look at I'll give you the home and road splits right now for 2024. And obviously, guys, the home and road splits are always going to favor home because these guys are more comfortable at home. But sometimes it's like to this extreme. And
drastic difference.
This extreme. But the Bears at home this season are 4-0. On the road, they are 0-3. At home, they have scored 15 touchdowns for 119 points. On the road, they've scored 5 touchdowns for 44 points. At home, they are scoring 30 points per game, one of the highest of any team in the NFL. On the road, they're scoring 14 points per game. Their opponents' points per game at home, they've allowed 15.3 points per game to opponents. On the road, they've allowed 20 points per game to opponents. At home, the Chicago Bears have 77 first downs on offense. On the road, they have 56. So, I mean, this is, I've said it the last couple weeks, a completely different football team when they're playing on the road. Completely different team.
Yeah, and a lot of teams are that, like you said, like you pointed out, that's a
like
pretty
15,
consistent trend across
touchdowns
the
to
NFL.
5 touchdowns.
15 to 5, that's what
Probably
stands out the most.
Dramatic.
The points per game doesn't stand out so much. 20 points, even still, like your defense is doing pretty damn well in terms of, you know, putting your offense in a position to win, you know, but it becomes a problem when you're allowing more points on the road and you're scoring less points on the road. Those,
I mean, doesn't take a rocket scientist, right? Like, you want to see why you're losing games on the road. You're going to win games where at home you average 30 points per game and you allow 15. You're going to win those games. When you're on the road and you're averaging 14 points per game on offense and you're allowing 20, you're going to lose those games. That's a touchdown. You're giving the other team a touchdown on the road. That is way too much in the NFL.
Kyle,
this is a game of inches.
To those numbers you just said, that's almost the final score yesterday. I mean, to a T.
Hey guys,
at least
I want to shout out breaking news, Bruce in the building.
What's up, Bruce? Fun hanging out with you yesterday, brother.
What's up,
Scott
Dan?
Angel?
Scotty boy, happy birthday.
Happy birthday again.
Happy birthday is in order, apparently. Guys, hit the like button, please. Give us some comments. Just vent. Get your frustrations out. We're here to help with that. This was a tough loss for all of us, and we're just trying to process it. Kyle, you were talking about they're on the road and home splits, and like there's only one thing that really gives me some kind of hope when you're thinking about that. I mean, you went to London. The Bears went to London. They did it the right way. They got themselves prepared. You can call it a home game all you want. I'm sorry, you're traveling to fucking London to play a football game. So that's an away game to me, guys. And the Bears performed. They were prepared there. For sure, it is neutral. Now, last night it was loud. It was loud there in Washington. The Commanders came out. That game should have been 24-0, guys. 24-28-0. The Bears defense stood on its head. They pulled a John Wick in my mind, man. They just could not be killed. They kept coming back, and that was super impressive. Again, as much as we're grieving right now, there were some positives too. Matt Eberflus, Matt Eberflus is a negative. I mean, not calling a timeout on that last play is inexcusable to me. Having a QB spy, and he says Edwards was covering the running back on there. Brandon, I don't see what the point of that is either. Having anyone in that role that TJ Edwards played in that play just makes no football sense to me. Makes no.
And what are you saving the timeouts for? What are you going to do with the timeout?
Yeah.
The game is over.
Here's my question: what could it hurt?
Like Arizona.
Exactly. Why would you not use a timeout? What is it? You can't save them. They don't go into the next game.
You might as well
give your guys a breather, even if it's just a breather. Even if the play is going to stay the same no matter what. But you're like, my guys, if they can use another 30 seconds to catch their breath, then why not use it? That doesn't make any sense in any way, shape, or form. Every coach, all other 31 coaches in the NFL would have called a timeout before that play. Every single one of them.
That's all I ever see. You want to see how that offense comes out and lines up. You want to get prepared for that. It gives you a look. Now, if they come out and change some stuff, so be it. You're still defending the end zone, but at least you can see what personnel.
And then you could have used your other timeout.
And you get your guys in front of you to just like say, hey, guys, we got this. This is what you're doing. This is what you're doing. Everybody on the same page. Instead, we got one of our defenders waving at the fucking stands with their back turned to the play while the guys run from the 45-yard line on the other side of the field to the 20-yard line on our side of the field, guys. That was just unacceptable. Unacceptable coaching in my mind in terms of how they approach that.
And Dustin, to that, like, you're the coach on the sideline. You don't see this. You don't pick up on this. You don't recognize this. Like, what are you?
He said he didn't. He said they were ready to go. That's what he said. They were ready to go on that play. That's why, in justifying not using a timeout, we were ready to go. No, you fucking weren't. One of your defenders had their back to the play for 4 seconds, guys. You weren't ready to go. Brandon, where are you at with this, man? I've talked long enough.
Yeah, it's obviously a loss you got to put on the coaching staff. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. We can talk about what Stevenson did, and that might have the only, unfortunately for me, man, the only difference I think the Stevenson thing, the only difference that made to me is Stevenson's greatest asset as a football player has been these moments. I mean, he just makes plays. So for him to be caught off guard, was definitely a disadvantage for the Bears in a lot of ways. If he had been prepared for that snap, focused, he probably would have made a play, guys. We'd be talking about Stevenson in a different light because I think his greatest strength is when it matters most. He does something special, like he did in
He
week
tried
one
to make
against
the
the
wrong
Vikings.
play in that situation.
Yeah, no, and then he tipped the ball, which, guys, we all know he was supposed to cover the guy that wasn't covered, and you never tip that ball. I mean, never. That's the one thing they tell you
Yep.
day in and day out. On that drill when you practice that, which Flus says they do multiple times a week, you don't tip the ball. You either
Well,
knock the
Flus
ball
said they
down
practice
or
it.
you let it go.
Originally, Flu said they practiced it at least 100 times. Then earlier today, I heard him say 50 times. The number keeps coming down, so I don't know how many times they practice it, but
Yeah,
somewhere between 50 and 100 and zero.
Flus in multiple ways, man. I mean, not at least bringing 5 on that play, a little more pressure up front on those Hail Marys, and I don't think. I mean, he had 12.9 seconds, 13 seconds to make the pass. The pass wasn't any. I mean, the pass was the pass, guys. Those balls. Any team that's going for a Hail Mary at the end of the game is hoping that those balls get bounced around.
Tipped.
You're
Yeah.
not expecting a completion from quarterback to receiver clean.
Yeah.
So I think Flu should have brought some pressure. I think the game would have been a much better game, guys, if we all watched it end on a sack. That's how a lot of those games end. That's how the game ended against the Lions against Minnesota last week.
Well,
They
Sweat
needed a
being
Hail
injured
Mary.
on that play didn't help. Sweat
Yeah,
not
Sweat.
being able to be on the field, that was a problem for them. But only rushing 3, man. Like I don't. TJ Edwards, we just said, was a
Having a
wasted
spy.
player. He was a wasted defender on that play. He was.
Whether
But-
you're spying on the running back or the quarterback, honestly, you don't need a
Why-
freaking spy in that situation.
Yeah.
Why this loss is so frustrating, I think every Bears fan knows this deep down, is like this might be the game that dictates the end
Yes.
of your
Playoff
season.
position.
And I'm a firm believer that if the Bears don't make the playoffs, Flus is gone. I don't see how he sticks around if they don't make the playoffs, guys. I mean, he would have to have
He won't.
a really good record without. He'd have to be like 11 win season without making the playoffs, and I just don't see that happening. I think if you have 11 wins, you're in the playoffs. So I think that game might end up being what caused Flus's job, which is kind of irony and its best, because
It's kind of poetic justice, though,
he
too.
lost that game. Yeah, and I think when a
Kinda
game's
poetic
decided
justice.
by a play, it often is coaches that you got to look at.
Yeah, I mean, you got to start. I mean, if we're going to sit here, well, first of all, we got to
Well,
talk.
hold on, man. I want to, because I am going to take. Dustin was really proud of what that defense did, as well as I was. I thought every time the Commanders came back on the field, I was like, this is it. This is where I blow the lid off this thing.
They
And
never broke.
It just never happened.
They
It just
never broke.
And that's your defense away, guys. That's your defense just played that game in Washington, and they just manhandled one of the best offenses in football. Yes, there was a Hail Mary at the end of that game that was completed for 50 yards or whatever it was, but still, the defense played phenomenal football in that game.
Yeah, and vice
Another
versa.
thing,
Vice
guys-
versa. The Commanders
another thing,
defense
guys,
destroyed the Bears, guys. They destroyed them.
Another thing that I'm just not hearing talked about enough, because I watched a quarterback for the last 3 years who plays his worst football when it matters most, is regardless of what Caleb Williams did for 3 quarters, I don't care. If you're a good player, especially a rookie, you put that behind you and you move on to the next play. And he led 3 scoring plays in a row. One of them we saw what the result of giving a backup lineman the ball at the goal line is. But Caleb Williams
DeAndre
got
Swift kind of led that first scoring play. But, okay.
Yeah, Caleb also has a lot of negatives to talk about too, man. A lot of bad.
But he did put them in position to win
Guys,
the game.
when
and
the quarterback, when
in
you're
a position to lose, and then he came back. But
Kyle,
he gets
when
credit
your
for both.
quarterback gives
Yeah.
you the lead with 29 seconds left, it's fair to say he's done what he needed to do.
We've talked
He
about on this
didn't-
podcast.
He wasn't the game winner. He doesn't get the ball.
We
He's not the
wanted to
best player on the
see-
field. He
We
did
wanted
what
to
he
see him
needed
do
to
that. We've also liked to see him improve on things he struggled in the past, and there's some things he is not improving in.
To me, this is what
Some things he is not getting better at. I don't know if you guys noticed or not. But Caleb Williams loves
Guys,
taking.
don't yell over each other. Come on now.
Caleb Williams
Kyle.
loves taking huge sacks as opposed to throwing the ball away. Throw the ball away.
You talked about yourself. The Bears will lose games because Caleb Williams is a rookie. In the first half of that game, I saw nerves. I saw overthrows. I saw underthrows. I saw bad throws. I saw throws to nowhere. I saw things Caleb Williams is not going to do in a year from now. And I
Caleb was
still
amped
think,
up. It felt like
and
the
I
first game
still
of the
think,
season again.
and it was his homecoming.
It really
He
did.
had
The road.
He had
It's
40.
him on
He
the
had 40
road.
people at that
Well,
game.
and
that were-
going home.
Yeah,
Kyle.
it was his homecoming. But I believe this, guys. You're talking about the Bears on the road versus at home. Their defense did what you didn't say. They allowed 20 points per game. They allowed 18 because the last play they allowed 15 or whatever, 12 in reality. And
Burn, they allowed
I
exactly
think
what
the
they're
offense.
allowing
I think
them.
the offense had a game-winning drive. A game-winning drive on the road from a Bears
And that
offense.
was
guys.
in spite of some awful play calling. That was in spite of some awful play
So
calling.
what I've learned about this team is what frightened me the most, and you guys were right a couple weeks ago after the Indianapolis game, and that was even worse because Caleb turned the ball over 3 times. This game was strictly what is disheartening because with this, and this is where you're going to start losing the locker room, is the players know they were good enough to win and they believe they were better than the team on the other side, and they
were
lost
better.
anyways
You guys
because
have
their
heard so
coaches
much
put
of
them in
this
a
stuff.
position to lose a football game.
I've heard so
And
much of the stuff about
no
how
matter how much people love Flus, you're going to lose the locker room doing that.
guys, what's more concerning to the Bears is not the Hail Mary at the end of the game. It's how they played for 3.5 quarters in that game. That is the team you should be concerned about because that's the team that's going to continue to play other games. Caleb Williams was 10 for 24. 10 completions out of 24 passes for 131 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and he took a 30-yard sack to take them out of field goal range. That is the stuff you should be concerned about. Not the Hail Mary. The Hail Mary is not going to happen again. It'll happen once every 10 years. The stuff you saw before that, that's going to happen again.
Kyle, can't you say yes? There was 56 bad minutes of Caleb Williams, but like quarterbacks in the past who could not get rid of that.
Sean,
he erased it and put together 4 great minutes that put his team in position.
He made some unbelievable passes.
Sean, I'm going
he had some
scrambled his ass off.
On our Wednesday shows, do I not say at the end
of for 40
Sean,
yards?
Do you hear me say at the end of every Wednesday show, I'd love to see the Bears beat the shit out of this team, but I'd also love to see Caleb Williams in a position where he has to go win. Haven't I said that on every Wednesday show?
He did,
I can't wait. And he did. And that's a positive. I'm not saying there was no positive in this game. The defense was positive. Caleb Williams, the problem with the Chicago Bears is
DeAndre Swift was a huge positive.
The problem with the Chicago Bears is this coaching staff and offensive line are not going anywhere, guys. They're not going anywhere. Matt Eberflus is not getting fired. The offensive line, we're not signing Trent Williams from the 49ers next week.
Here's the deal.
This is what we have.
Here's the
this
deal.
This is the team I'm talking about.
And they've shown that they
lose
can
one of these
have
3
success
games.
with what they have.
4-3.
Not against good players.
Not
against good players.
Isn't this
why
why
offensive line is atrocious?
This is why Waldron was brought here.
Their offensive line got hurt yesterday too, Kyle.
Yeah,
we're going to bring that up.
They've been hurt every year for the last 4
Braxton
years.
Jones went out.
You guys,
that
this is
Tevin
the same
Jenkins went out, and
conversation
then
we have
Bill
for the
Murray went out,
49ers. You guys keep talking about like the
3 out of
49ers when they're healthy. When they're healthy,
Here.
they're never healthy.
Hold on. Here's the deal. Number one, you didn't get DeAndre Swift involved into this game until way too late.
That was
You didn't get DJ Moore
That's
involved.
the coach, the Bears coach. That's currently the Bears coach. Still the Bears coach.
Got his first freaking target late in the 4th quarter. What the hell are you doing?
Sean,
was the
Sean, what's even worse? What's even worse is after the DeAndre Swift 50-yard touchdown,
they got the ball back at midfield and didn't run it once.
Threw 3 times.
They didn't run it
on a
once.
3 and out. How do you not come out the very next play?
The only thing you've done successfully
ram
is
it
run
down
the
him
ball.
again. It's just
listen. That's what we do need to talk about, guys. And real quick, Joe Dicker says.
Before we switch to that, I do want to fit Eberflus for a little bit more clown suit that he belongs in right now, because that handoff to Kramer was not only approved but signed off by Eberflus. Is going to go down as the worst play in the history.
It's already been anointed the worst play in NFL history. Numerous experts have come on and said that is the dumbest football play I've ever seen in the history of football.
Because that's a play you try when you're up 21 at home.
Exactly.
When you're at home, you let Kramer rush a touchdown in front of his home crowd. What are you doing on a game that's on the line in Washington?
Guys, we'll get to Waldron. What are you going to do, Sean? You got Eberflus? Something for Eberflus?
Yeah, I'm still ready to tear this guy apart. I mean, he came out in his post game presser He says that 13-yard pass to Terry McLaurin, it was no concern. Hey, dumbass, you allowed them to get in position to throw a Hail Mary. The defensive backs came out and said, hey, we want him to play press man there. He said play off. So your defensive backs are telling you they want to do this in this situation, but he's the defensive guru who said, no, we're not going to do this. We're going to play off. He gave him the midfield and allowed them to get in position to win this game. For everything he does good in playoff or in games for his defense, he also has a lot of deficiencies on that side of the ball, and they reared his ugly head yesterday. This guy should not be the coach. I don't give a shit if this team makes the playoffs or not. He is not. He's a defensive coordinator masquerading as a head coach in the fucking NFL. Enough said. This guy
Well
sucks.
said, Sean. Let's get to the chat a little bit here, guys. Joe Dicka says they stole that game and then gave it away. We agree. They shouldn't have even had a chance to win that game the way it was playing out. The Commanders dominated that 100%. Game. The Bears had a chance to win it and just gave it away. Scott Angel says undisciplined equals bad coaching.
Correct.
Very well said. Scott Angel said that. Zach Lipsy says play calls are bad throughout the game. Then all of a sudden they remember how to call plays in the fourth quarter. They were capable of beating Washington by a couple of touchdowns. I'll agree with that up to the point that Washington was capable of beating the Bears by a couple of fucking touchdowns.
They were.
The Bears defense did not keep them out of the end zone in the red zone. The Redskins were terrible. And I know I said Redskins. They were terrible in the red zone, guys, in terms of scoring touchdowns. Coaching staff and O-line are the Achilles heel of this team and will continue to be for the rest of the year. Dan Blakemore.
Hey, Dano, and I agree with that because I think the Bears' ceiling for this year's team is handicapped by this coaching staff.
And this whole line.
Well, that was exhibited, guys. That was exhibited.
Continuing, though. It was
the offensive line is not good, guys.
And listen, we were calling for some changes in that coaching office, after that Colts game. The Bears have now lost 2 games this season that I would put solely on coaching in terms of decision making, whether it's play calling throughout the game, whether it's a head coach. Here, listen, somebody brought up the 4th and 1. Zach Lipsy, I want to talk on this. 4th and 1 on own 40, throw a screen to Moore short of a first down by 2 yards. Listen, not even that. Before that, DeAndre Swift had a first down. If he didn't have a first down, he was this close to it. You put yourself in a position to do a QB sneak if you challenge the spot of that ball. The fact that Matt Eberflus did not challenge that spot was infuriating to me at the time. Swift was clearly a lot closer than where they spotted it. It was a bad spot. It would have been overturned. Yeah, instead, they come out and run a fucking screenplay on 4th down. And I don't know. That was
that's another thing about this game.
It was a bad spot.
So Matt Eberflus goes to go from challenging things that are clear as day and should not be challenged to 2 different plays in that game. That pass to Terry McLaurin late in the game, that ball rolled off the ground, dude. That ball was moving. And then the Commanders proved to you that that ball was not a catch because they run up to the line like, hey, let's go. That's not a catch. And then the Bears are like, whatever, just take it. Don't worry about it. Cool. I mean, the coaching is so lackadaisical. I mean, everything that from like Zach said, that play you just brought up, I almost forgot about that play. You need a yard to get a first down and you throw laterally or backwards again. How many times do the Bears have to be told that is a recipe for a disaster? When you need 1 yard, you go forward. You don't ever go sideways or backwards ever. That should never, ever happen in the NFL. And you don't see any other team in the NFL doing that. Nobody else is doing that.
What's wrong with the tush
exactly.
push? Just roll your quarterback forward.
Hey, here's a great idea, guys. You discovered Kramer can open holes for Roshan fucking Johnson. Use him.
Hey, Sean, you know what we didn't discover about Eric Kramer? Or Doug Kramer, sorry.
Doug Kramer.
Remember Eric Kramer, the whole
or Eric Kramer.
Yeah. He cannot carry the football. That's not something that he is meant to do. That's not a strength of his, especially not in the fourth quarter when you're down 5 points and you've been getting your ass kicked the whole game and you need a touchdown to take the lead in the game. Doug Kramer is not the guy to hand the ball to. We did find that what he can't do.
What's really discouraging is Waldron apologized and publicly announced that he'd learned his lesson after the DeAndre Swift play at the goal line that lost 12 yards, and that he knows his team came and talked to him and said, this is our strengths, this is what we're built on, let's do this. And it was part of that was the jumbo package with Roshan just taking it a yard in the end zone. And he said he learned his lesson, and then we see this, and it's like, man,
let me say something on that. Let me say something on that, and then I'll pass it to you, Kyle. I'm sure they've practiced that play. it makes total sense that you start having success with that jumbo package, and then you start to have spider webs come off of it. Like, okay, so they think we're doing this, so we're gonna throw them off with this. We're gonna try to deceive them with this. Like that. That's what play callers do, guys. That's what they should do.
They didn't have the jumbo package with Kramer at fullback. That was just a straight line. They were so thin at offensive line, man. They weren't putting that package out there, but they did have Kramer in as a fullback.
No,
so you're right.
That's what I'm saying. That's what Kramer since they
ball.
rolled out that jumbo package, Kramer has been at fullback. Two things to consider when it makes sense to have that play. I'm running it when I'm up 12 points in the fourth quarter. I'm not running it when I'm down 5 points in the fourth quarter, guys. You got to think about the situation. You can't practice that situation for Kramer. He has no idea. He's never carried the football before. I'm sure he's nailed it in practice, but there's no pressure.
In high school, in college, he's
you also got to make
one more point, guys, and then I'll pass it along. He's playing fullback, so that handoff is quick as hell, guys. Caleb's turning around and it's going right into that big man's belly. And that's just a really tough thing to execute in such a high leverage situation. There's so many things that got to go right in just that little turn and give, that accelerated handoff, given how close he is. So those are two things that you just giving yourself too much variable for failure on that play in my mind. There's no way it should have been run in that scenario.
You want to know what's even better about this coaching staff? They just cut the fullback blessing game, but then you throw in
every Bears move there's a corresponding dog shit, bad, terrible, awful.
I don't care about Blossom game, dude. I don't care if he's on this team.
I don't care that they cut him, but he is an actual fullback.
You would have been better at Doug Kramer at that, Gary. I can tell you that shit right now.
What would have been better is giving the ball to Roshan Johnson and let Doug Kramer do what he does and blow a big fucking hole in the defensive line, and Roshan walks right behind it.
Roshan, Blossom game, Doug Kramer
there at all. I don't care who they are. I don't need him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Juszczyk does it. He looks good. But here, I want to talk about the Bears real quick.
It's a different offense. It's a different thing.
There's multiple things that happen in this game that are severely disappointing. First and foremost, even the conversation that they had with Matt Eberflus, I don't know if you guys saw it or not. You probably went to the fridge during halftime. But when he was walking off the field at halftime, they had a little sideline interview with Matt Eberflus, and it was the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my entire life. I mean, my immediate thought is this guy just doesn't sound intelligent, well put together, smart. Nothing about this guy sounds good in any way, shape, or form. And this is not even me hammering Matt Eberflus. This is just me making an observation. I mean, he was like, we didn't play well, but I really liked the execution on that last drive. The last drive where Caleb Williams took a 45-yard sack and you got out of field goal range. That's the execution you're talking about, dude. What are you talking about? You should have been.
He mentioned that. He mentioned that in that interview, Kyle. He said he needs to get down. He not lose the yards to take him out.
Okay, well, so you can say it all he wants. This is the third time it's happened this year. Then on top of that, you go to after the game when they're talking about, hey, how about the play leading up to the Hail Mary? What about that play? That play doesn't matter. That play doesn't matter. It does matter. It does matter. And I don't know if you guys saw it or not.
What he actually said is
you guys saw it or not,
going to land. That's what
Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn came out. And did you guys see what Dan Quinn said?
That was a huge play for them to get.
Dan Quinn was like, the play before the Hail Mary was absolutely massive, especially for a quarterback who was in pain and could barely throw the ball 50 yards. That was
he didn't get it to the end zone.
No,
he didn't get it to the end zone from where he threw it after that play.
He did. He did not get it.
He would not have from where he was throwing it before that.
He underthrew the last 7 passes before that play. He was underthrowing absolutely everything.
Yeah, he was in pain.
The thing that concerns me about this game, the thing that is soul crushing to me personally, and like I said, guys, we can later on we'll talk about the positives because there is positives from this game, but especially like Dustin keeps talking about DeAndre Swift. There's no doubt about it. He is the Bears. He is the Chicago Bears.
Is the key.
He is the heart to the. If DeAndre Swift goes, we go. He's like Dexter Fowler.
Dude, that fucking hurdle in the middle of the field when he had 3 guys around him.
DeAndre Swift is absolutely so far this season here's DeAndre Swift. Here's the second best player. I mean, he is head and shoulder better than everybody else in the Bears this far. So this far into the season, he's been
real quick. Kyle, can we before we move on from what you were talking about? I think it is important to talk about that play a little more from before the Hail Mary, because it like you said, he continues to say that play doesn't matter. It's just the last play. But it does matter if you pressure. And Kevin Byard came out and said, like, I would have won. And he said he told Eberflus this on the sidelines. I would have wanted to press those receivers to put some pressure on them. And then guess what? If you come out in that press, maybe they turn those outs into verticals.
Yep.
And Jaden Daniels, like you said, Kyle, cannot get the ball down the field with the pain that he's in. So you put your defense at an advantage. Just because you got to run with those receivers, that's your job. That's cool.
Well,
we'll have some people back there.
And if you
but
make
you
them,
could have got them to make a play they didn't want to make in that moment. Instead, you let them do exactly what they wanted to do.
and
That's a problem.
if you
played
make them
into
make
their
a
game.
play,
Yes.
if you force them to make a play there, they probably don't have any time left.
No, exactly. They had no timeouts. They were
2
done.
seconds.
Well, here's what I want to real quick. I just want to say this. This is the thing that's most disappointing about this game to me, guys. So for the last 10, 15 years, Bears fan, I think it's fair for all of us to say that there's just like an error. There's a feeling in the air. There's like an asterisk. Like you always think it's going to go wrong because the Bears have done that
like
to us.
Yes,
we've become scarred Bears fans because they've been so bad for so long and they do such embarrassing shit and they fail time and time again. And through the last 6 games of this season, we've all said that we start to feel like that's shifting a little bit, and it's going from a losing culture to winning culture. And here's the problem. I think with Ryan Poles and Caleb Williams and DeAndre Swift and Keenan Allen and Roman Dudes, I think they're so close to turning that switch and installing winning culture. But now you put up this piece, you put Matt Eberflus out there, and then he is the block between making that. You can't turn the switch all the way because Matt Eberflus is stuck there, and you just can't turn it. And then you look at him after the game for like let's look for some accountability. Maybe they're going to get better. This is 3 years, guy. He's not a first-year head coach. This is 3 years. And after the game, he goes, well, it doesn't matter. They should have done this. They should have done that. The players stink. I did nothing. We're great. The players suck. Tyree Stevenson should, but I mean, is that not the vibe you get when you listen to him talk?
Nah,
I mean, I just get like this.
Kyle,
tell me once where Matt Eberflus is taking
blame. Let me defend you a little bit. I do believe, from what I've collected throughout today, it sounds as if Flus is allowing Stevenson to take credit for this loss. That's what I've gathered. And I'm going to be honest, guys. I hope Stevenson's okay for next week. I hope he recovers from that procedure of getting his head removed from his ass. But I do think that it's Flus. See, I was working on that one.
You needed to just keep going, man. Don't break. Just keep it going. You got this.
But it's. Yeah, I mean, you're right, dude. You're absolutely right. And I think that Flus, he's been asked a lot of questions about his own decisions, and he's kind of, I don't know, man. Like you said, Kyle, it's never a straight. There's no meaning.
It's always vague. It's always general.
Dustin called
it's so
filler.
passive. It's like passive. It's like that passive aggressive friend you have. Just get to the point.
Hold on. And then when he's asked a question about Tyreek Stevenson, he goes balls deep. He's. Oh yeah, we were really proud of him. He stood up today, and he was.
Yeah, now he wants to talk about X's and O's.
I'm never gonna. That's on me, and I'm never gonna allow it. I'm gonna change. I'm gonna grow from that. It's like wait, whoa, man. So wait. We're going to answer questions thoroughly on what Tyreek Stevenson did wrong at the end of that game, but you're going to Joe Biden a question about yourself?
Yeah, he's a politician.
Yeah, dude, don't tell me that you're prepared for that last play when the last play resulted the way it did. You weren't prepared. And you did not take the proper precautions to make sure you were prepared. And right now with Tyree Stevenson, Brandon, like you're saying, there needs to be accountability. Tyree Stevenson needs to take his accountability, which he's doing. And he's doing a very good job at that. And I think he's going to grow and get better from this, guys. But that don't mean Eberflus shouldn't put his foot in his ass.
No, I think
Stevenson needs to feel that.
Listen, man,
as part of this process.
This is what I think. I think
the coach needs to step up here and fucking be the leader in the building.
I think he could be suspended for like a half because I think they need him. To be honest with you, I could see him getting and they're down in the secondary already due to health. I could see them suspending him for a half. But I'm going to be honest. This is what I like about Tyreek Stevenson. I believe a half of him standing on the sideline watching the game being played would destroy him. Would destroy him.
Hey, listen, guys.
Wait, before you guys move on, because just real quick.
I'm not going to move on. I was going to talk about what Dan's saying. Real quick. Dude speaks in generic coach speak. It's so annoying. We just got to be better there.
He's a politician.
Really quick to that. Hold on, really quick to that point. At the beginning of the year, he was not doing this. We were all sitting
The
here
whole
like,
story
"Oh,
was he got a
that's
transformational coach to teach him how to communicate.
And he got a beard.
He
And he
got
got
the
a beard,
beard.
so he's cool
His
now.
hair looks cool now. He
Yeah.
doesn't look like a 60-year-old vampire.
He's a sheep, dude.
Yeah, but we
Real quick,
did.
Vernon.
I think the majority of the fan base did.
This is Kyle's
approach
spot here,
this-
man.
Sorry, did approach this season as if Flus was the biggest problem. I think most fans believe that.
I felt that.
Real quick, man. This
Feeling
is
it now.
not. People keep talking about Tyreek Stevenson, and they keep talking about the Hail Mary at the end of the game. And always he says he wasn't taunting the crowd. He was cheering with Bears fans while the play was going on.
Who
I
gives
mean,
a
either
fuck?
way, you're an idiot. But you guys, the whole game. We need to talk about Tyreek Stevenson the entire game. I mean, so he had the 15-yard penalty. Sean, you showed that earlier, where he sticks his fingers in somebody's face mask. He had a 15-yard penalty before that was negated by a commander's penalty. So the penalties were off.
Watch. Can't do that. No, that's right there. You're asking for trouble. Watch.
You can't do that.
Who allowed the 65-yard reception to Terry McLaurin? I mean, this was Tyreek Stevenson's worst game as a professional, no doubt about it. I mean, obviously, you see what happens when Kyler Gordon's down on the field and Jaquan Briscoe's on, and they need him to step up and be bigger. He just wasn't good yesterday. Not only that, guys, but I started looking at Tyreek Stevenson's Pro Football Focus numbers for 2024. According to them, he has not been a very good player at all. Here's the thing about Tyreek Stevenson. We've talked about this before. I'm fine with Tyreek Stevenson giving up a big play occasionally, kind of like Trayvon Diggs from the Cowboys. That happens, right? But Trayvon Diggs does it to go along with 6 interceptions, right? Tyreek Stevenson has 1. He has 4 passes broken up this year. That's ranked, I think, the number 29 in the NFL. He's got a 52.1 Pro Football Focus. He's ranked 163rd out of 200. His pass coverage rating is 51.9. Apparently, he's very good in the run, because his run defense is 65.2, which is actually one of the
He had
highest.
some great plays against the run yesterday, just in that game.
He has 1 interception. He has 1 sack, and he has 4 knocked or defended passes, and he has 4 missed. He's 4 tackles been broken against him. He also has allowed 23 receptions, which is more than Kyler Gordon and Jalen Johnson. So listen, I'm not saying Tyreek Stevens is a bad player, and I think he's going to get better. But right now, like Brennan said 3 weeks ago, he is the weakest link on the Chicago Bears. I mean, there's no arguing about it.
No, there isn't. But at the same time, he is set up to be that. He is put in that position by this defense. Sean, do you have anything to elaborate with that?
Yeah, Tyreek Stevenson, Dustin, we've talked about this in the past. He's got the hardest job on this defense. He's trailing the best player constantly. Coming out of this game, unfortunately, he had a 38.2 grade for PFF, which is the worst of any Bears defensive player this year under Matt Eberflus. But he is trailing the toughest player. His job.
The offense is putting their best player on his side of the field every game, no matter what.
You guys, you can even talk about that.
You have to consider that when you're talking.
I'll agree with that. I'll agree with that. He's got a tough job. You guys, that has nothing to do with the bonehead plays. Him covering him sticking his finger in somebody's fucking face mask.
Let me say this about that.
Completely different.
That is part of who Tyreek Stevenson is as a player.
I agree.
Tyreek Stevenson is a dog. You need players like that on your team that bring that kind of energy.
You need that when there's a scrum on the
control it. Tyreek Stevenson is in his second year, Kyle. He's going to get
on the
better.
sideline. You need that when somebody kills Caleb Williams. You need that when you're up by 20. You don't need that when you're in a tied game in the third quarter and you stick your fucking finger in somebody's face.
He's going to get better at that. He knows that he was not in the right on those plays, and he wants to get better. And he said guys called him out during that penalty. Told him you got to get your shit together. But we got to remember that we don't want Tyreek Stevenson to lose that edge because the Bears need that. They need to help him control it.
But you guys can all agree that if say this game is it's a big pie chart, right? And this is the chunk this is the reason we lost. This is the reason we lost.
You do have to put work in disciplining your dog.
Stevenson is a big chunk of the pie this week. It's not just the Hail Mary; it's the whole game. Stevenson takes a huge chunk of this loss, as does Matt Eberflus, the Doug Kramer play and then Caleb Williams early woes. You guys, Caleb Williams missed passes early in the game were open receivers. These weren't like
listen, let's finish up this. I want to get into more of this. I do want to get into more of the stuff from earlier in the game and what led us to the Hail Mary. Brandon, do you have a take on the Stevenson thing we're talking about?
I already went through it.
Sean, talk about your bye week thing, though. Sean, you never said anything about the bye week.
I think it was a
bye week. What do you mean?
All week you've been talking about how the Bears should have prepared for this game. They had 2 weeks to prepare for the Washington Commanders.
To me, I wasn't surprised by this. I mean, I was thinking about all week the total recall. 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Can I talk on Tyreek Stevenson for a sec?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Sean. I don't want to cut you off.
Go ahead.
Jebediah Harper's back. What up, Jebediah?
I think Tyreek Stevenson. he kind of played the same role he always has, man. He got beat a few times. That's what he does. But like I said, he makes big plays. After the really big pass to, I think it was McLaurin down the sideline.
Yeah, yeah.
He,
On 3rd and 9, by the way.
he hit Brian Robinson really hard in open field. I mean, the very next play.
And stop the touchdown, probably, Brandon. Stop the touchdown.
Kind of who he is.
He is that guy.
But I do believe that so I'm not gonna he had a bad game when it comes to the penalties. Kyle, you're right. The things where he's poking somebody in the face, that stuff is inexcusable because you are putting yourself before a football team. But on that last play, he had I'm not gonna attack his play in that game. What I am gonna say is I like Tyreek Stevenson, and I want Tyreek Stevenson involved on the very last play of the game. I want his head in that play, and not in his ass. That's where it's just not acceptable. Yes, not in his ass, and it's not acceptable. And there's got to be a consequence, guys. This cannot be a don't do that.
Don't do that. You said sorry. It's cool. You said sorry.
Something has to happen here. But I do believe this: if Tyreek Stevenson has his head in that game in that moment, he probably makes a play, guys. He probably does something. That's the benefit of this secondary.
Brandon, just out of curiosity, do you believe that as a risk-taking corner, a guy like Trayvon Diggs, the guys who give up big plays but also take the ball away, you've seen those guys. They've been in the NFL for years. Nathan Bash was kind of one of those guys where he would give up 110 yards receiving, but then he'd have a pick. Don't you think that requires Tyreek Stevenson to get more picks? You need more than one interception. Right?
I don't think
got to have more than one. He does take chances, Brandon. He takes chances.
He doesn't. I don't think he does.
He does.
And he's very strong against the run. He's a more complete cornerback. Give him
I like what Zach Lipsy says here. Zach Lipsy saying Jalen Johnson not being a shadow CB hurts his elite status. And you know what, Zach, that's more of the scheme. Like you're playing a zone instead of man coverage.
He stays on one side.
It makes it easier for opposing team. Yeah, so teams are attacking Stevenson because they know the other two corners are much better than Stevenson is. Now, if the Bears think that the best way to negate that is to start playing man and let Jalen Johnson start following Nico Collins or Terry McLaurin or whoever it may be, then do it.
New head coach.
Hanging Stevenson out there to dry is not helping them. It's not helping.
Though this game was definitely.
Guys, the Bears don't need to change the way they play defense. What they're doing is working.
Looking pretty damn good. Yeah.
Stevenson has been who Stevenson was yesterday. He's been that this whole season. Minus the penalties. That's the guy he's been.
I keep saying minus the penalties. We got to put a bow on the fact that the biggest issue that Tyreek Stevenson had in this game
was the penalties.
Getting too caught up. No, it was getting too caught up with his emotions to even be paying attention to the fact that the biggest play of the game was happening behind him. That was the worst.
But I'm going to say this, man. He's a part of a really good defense that's playing really good football. They played good football the whole game.
He's an important part of it.
He's a part of that.
He will be starting for this team in the future. He's not going away.
Zach, we appreciate your comments, and nobody's calling you an idiot or anything. I don't think you saying that Jalen Johnson is following their best receiver is changing your defensive scheme. I think you're making adjustments to make your team better, which you should be doing every fucking day in every fucking game, right? I mean, little tiny adjustments to make your team better is okay, right? Like we used to have Blasingame in the back. Now all of a sudden it's Doug Kramer. They got better because of that. Well, until that play. Things. You can have Jalen Johnson follow the number one receiver around and still play zone coverage. That's possible. You could do both.
Yeah,
Zach, I agree with you,
but that's not the way Eberflus runs that.
This game,
Tampa too. That's not the way.
This game was really affected by no Kyler Gordon and no Jaquan Brisker.
Going into the game. Yeah, we all
every game will be.
Tyreek Stevenson is a better player with those two guys on the field as well.
Yes,
everything
gets so is Jalen Johnson. Yeah,
you miss these guys. So we're taking this in the nut and saying, hey, man, this defense, even without those two guys, because Kyler Gordon, to me, is a huge part of this defense. Almost the guy that hurts way more.
He's been the best player this year. He's been the best player this year. He's been the Bears' best defender this year.
Number one. If he hasn't been, Brisker probably has been, guys.
But you guys are also talking about two guys. You guys are also talking about two guys who injuries are becoming a pattern. This is becoming a pattern.
Hold on. Yesterday, Montez Sweat was an animal.
He was an animal.
That sack he had on
to chase down Daniels like that.
He just caught him and threw him down with an arm like that. I mean, that like Dustin said, him not being in on that play was huge. Sweat would have got home on that play.
Sweat being not being on that final play was a very big deal.
Here, can I tell you who else? Can I tell you guys really quick who else kept us in this game yesterday that we're all forgetting?
Torrey Taylor.
You're damn right, dude. 7 punts, a 48.7-yard average, dude. 5 inside the 20, fucking 4 inside the 10. Without that guy, I don't know, man.
Big part of this defense.
He's worth every bit of that 4th-round pick, isn't he?
And Zach Lipsy says he thinks Brisker would have blown up that play on the Hail Mary. Hicks was just standing there. I mean, Hicks had a bad game, guys. As far as
he did,
he had a bad game,
man.
I
just feel like there's so many times we talk about these guys, Brisker and Gordon. We all talk about how amazing they are, but nobody ever addresses the fact that they are now becoming often injured players. I mean, this is every single year. I mean, this is who they are. They're going to miss games. So you have to draft guys to become deeper at those positions. If you don't like Hicks, guess what? Whoever you draft next year at safety who plays behind Brisker, I have a strong feeling he's going to be playing at some point next season because this is Jaquan Brisker. He's a violent player. He puts himself in harm's way. And he gets hurt.
Here's a great question. You went into this offseason and you signed Jonathan Owens, who was starting for that team up north last year. Why isn't he playing at all? You're telling me Elijah Hicks is better than Jonathan Owens? I mean, maybe Josh Blackwell is, but you signed this guy to be a part of your defense.
Yeah, Jonathan Owens really didn't get a lot of play.
No, he hasn't played at all. It's blown mind blowing. I don't understand it because every other position, the Bears have no problem flexing a ton of people in and out. But if apparently Jonathan Owens doesn't get a chance, real quick, just before we move on, Dan Blakemore says, speaking of injuries and patterns, Tevin Jenkins can't be starting on this team next year. Lives on the IR. You guys, I'm telling you, watching this game on Sunday, that was the final straw for me. Like every 3 plays, Tevin Jenkins like,
but here's the
down on one knee. Like, be done with that. It's done.
Here's the other side of that coin, though, Kyle. He was the highest graded player for the Bears on Pro Football Focus.
It sucks. It's one of those situations like Mike Brown, dude. When you 8 games a year, you are amazing. 8 games a year, you are awesome. The other half of the season,
can we pay you half of a
enjoy
contract?
IR. Yeah, enjoy IR. Enjoy sitting on IR for the other half of the season.
I'll pay him half a contract. I'll do that. I don't want to pay for the whole year. I'll just pay for 7 or 8 games.
Yeah, you guys want to get?
We pay you a half. Can I do?
You guys want to get into the numbers real quick though? Like you guys want to get the statistics?
Like 38 seconds. Like what?
We haven't really gotten into the statistics yet of this game. I just want to go over them because
I do want to get into that. And I do want to get into how the game started too.
Yeah.
I mean, just in terms
first
of
and foremost, we'll let Dustin start it off because I want Justin. You go over DeAndre Swift's numbers. I mean, the Bears can run the ball. All of a sudden, the Bears are running football. They don't do it.
Kyle, you go ahead and run them off, and then we'll talk on.
Yeah, I mean, how about DeAndre Swift? 18 rushes for 129 yards, a 56-yard touchdown. That's 7.2 yards per carry he carried in this game. And what do the Bears do? Not run the ball. That's just it's time and time again with it. I mean, I wanted DeAndre Swift on the field as much as possible, and he's proven that should be the thing, right? DeAndre Swift is the heartbeat of this team, but Rojo shouldn't have 2 attempts, guys. That's ridiculous. I'm not even saying that because Roschon Johnson has so much potential, is going to be better than DeAndre Swift, but DeAndre Swift is going to get hurt. So why not use, and you take away Roschon Johnson, you take away the 2 carries at the goal line, where once again, he's put in a position where he's going to average 1 yard a carry if he scores a touchdown. He was averaging 6 yards a carry before they decided to stop using him. Roschon Johnson got 2 attempts in that game. I just don't understand it. It doesn't make sense to me. But real quick, just to go over the numbers here. Caleb Williams was 10 for 24 for 131 yards, zero touchdowns, 0 interceptions. I love the 0 interceptions. He continues to take care of the ball. Huge positive from this game. He also had 10 rushes for 41 yards. Brendan mentioned it earlier. Huge rushes. Kyle,
the fact that he didn't turn the ball over in a game where he was pressured on over 50% of the snaps that he dropped back is really impressive.
Yeah, and he didn't fumble, nothing. I mean,
because you can compare this game to the Texans game, which he turned the ball over 3 times.
Yeah, and you know what, you guys, I will go out and say, I think as bad as this game looked for the Bears on offense for 90% of the game, to me, this was Caleb Williams' best game in negotiating the pocket, navigating the pocket. I mean, there's a couple of times where he was dead to rights, and I don't know how that. And Commanders fans are like, "Oh my God, how do you keep letting this guy get out of there?"
What's the other side of that coin, though, Kyle? The other side of that coin is we go out of field goal range because he's trying to extend that play. You kind of got to figure out, are you taking the good or you got to take the bad with the good with Caleb?
He's making up for his offensive line deficiencies trying to create.
He makes them look a lot better than they are.
And I think those scrambles will start to look more, I guess you'd say organized or more
controlled.
Natural.
I'll tell you this, hey, Kyle, really quick.
I think they're necessary.
He holds the ball out way too far when he's scrambling. He needs to learn how to hold that ball.
A knock on him coming into the NFL was fumbles. People said he hasn't done a lot in the NFL.
It's necessary, but you got to be okay with the bad that comes from that because he is going to extend a bad play sometimes too. He extends plays.
I said on the bare minimum, I think Caleb is going to have to scramble in this game a lot. I said that, and I believe.
Did you predict that that Shane Waldron will call 2 QB draws in a fucking row?
No, but I was hoping he called a
on
third.
3rd and 6.
To be
he called it
honest.
It
third
goes to
and
lead
6.
to a 4th down where you need a
Yeah,
pass
4th and
interference
3.
to bail you out to save the game. Oh my God.
Yeah, I
Hey,
mean,
by the way, too, Kyle, and you were talking about this. We forgot to mention on that backwards pass to DJ Moore. That was a blatant face mask that was missed.
oh
and
yeah,
should be
but
first
you
down
know what?
carries.
I'm done bitching about the refs,
Yeah.
Sean, because it's
Yeah,
not
they
going to
suck on
change.
both
It's
sides.
come to the conclusion that you guys saw that face mask against Sam Darnold the Thursday. I mean, that is the most blatant call I've ever seen in
Yeah,
the
they've
history of
been
football,
bad.
dude.
He was the exorcist on that play,
Yes,
dude.
he was
His head
literally got his
face
head
was
ripped
broken.
off, and they were like, whatever.
Did you also see there was
No, that's the
no?
wrong one.
Did you also see there was no helmet to helmet on the play that Drake May got
Yeah,
concussed?
that was that one.
Yeah.
was
He got
absolutely
his head
ridiculous.
like clean knocked off.
There's no point to
Did you
complaining
guys
about the
see
refs
that
anymore,
hit?
guys,
Hey,
because it's
Kyle,
not going to change.
Let's
Did
get
you
into
see
those
that
stats
hit?
you're doing.
Yeah, but let me go over the
Jebediah
commanders.
says Shane Waldron is the biggest issue with this team, so that's what we really got to get into.
Well,
I
yeah,
think.
and you know,
Let's
this
get
is
into
what
these
this
stats.
is. Yeah, this is what I'm getting towards, guys,
Yes,
because
please.
the improvement on stopping the run and running the ball are amazing, and somebody deserves credit for this because the Bears are now, like I said, you guys, we couldn't get 3 yards a carry 6 weeks ago. Now DeAndre Swift's averaging over 7 yards a carry. That's amazing. But real quick, Jane Daniels on the day was pretty efficient, 21 for 30. It's not his most efficient day, but he had 326 yards, which means they were getting big chunk plays down the field. He had 1 touchdown and he had 8 rushes for 52 yards. If Jane Daniels continues to be this player, he's Lamar Jackson, but a better passer. That's what he's going to end up being. I mean, he's a very dangerous football player. And then you have Brian Robinson. Brian Robinson only had 16 rushes for 65 yards, and his longest rush was 19 yards. So you take that 19-yard carry out of the
Most of those yards came in the first half.
Yeah, he had a terrible
shit.
day.
They made
If I
adjustments in the second half.
told you guys that they were going to rush for less than 100 yards, excluding Gene
Bears
Daniels,
could win that game.
the Bears are going to win the game,
and
right?
They could have.
I mean,
And they could have.
it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Sorry, you guys can get into the stats now too. It's just you look at this game on paper and it's just disappointing in every way it possibly could.
Well,
be.
what's disappointing is 8 penalties following a bye week.
Yep.
You got
Awful.
your penpenalties down
Awful.
to you got your
To
penalties down
two
to
against the
2.
Jaguars.
And then you come out after a bye week, and your penalties quadruple. Like
Well, Brandon,
what? That is just not acceptable. It's just another phase where
Well, and they're going to go
Eberflus-
up because you're on the road
Sean
and
said-
allow the sound
But
of
guys,
the tough.
can I ask a question, guys?
yeah.
Real quick on the penalties.
We're going to stay on subject. Is this? I mean, right? Ryan Poles is aware, right, of this, right? I mean, what we're all thinking. Ryan Poles is now thinking to himself, "This is step one, or this is kind of strike one for Eberflus, right? I mean, it's got to be.
Should have been strike 3.
There's
Yeah.
no way your GM.
Oh, yeah, he shouldn't
There's
have
no
been
way
the
your
head coach
GM
coming into the season, guys.
Does your GM have this mentality where we're not forgetting this? You know
The
what I
only
mean?
thing that
We have to see how we respond.
Hey, Brandon,
but
let
this
me
is a
ask you
problem.
this. Let me ask you this question, Brandon. If you were the general manager of the Chicago Bears and you took that performance against Washington off of the bye, would you not be saying, dude, this guy's on the hot seat right now if you're the GM? I don't care that the Bears are 4-3.
Well,
That was atrocious.
I'm thinking this is, to me, I think personally, Ryan Poles likes Eberflus. I think
Sure.
what I'm asking is
He's
this
great.
is this, Sean, the moment? Is this the moment where his seat just got hot? Like, is this the moment in Ryan Poles' eyes?
I hope his seat's on fire.
Yeah, I should have been hot already.
I hope his seat's on fire.
he should have come in under a very strong assumption that if he does not perform well and his team does not perform well, like you said, Brandon, playoffs or bust, that he will not have a job next year. He was lucky to keep his job after last season. These last 2 seasons before coming into the season, Matt Eberflus gave us all a lot of doubts. Not much to bank on. Nothing at all besides that defense rallying behind them after they fired Alan Williams last year. That's what saved his job. Now, if you come out and, like you said, Brandon, 8 penalties in that game, 2 the week before, 5 the week before.
Pre-snap.
Yep, that's what I was about to get into. Because this is what I mean. Now this falls under
a player celebrating on the sideline during a play, man. I mean, like that's what the GM's got to have. You're talking about a fine microscope. If there's a player celebrating on a sideline during a play,
Thanks for joining me.
if there's a player celebrating and I have a timeout and it hasn't been called, if I'm a GM, that's a problem, man. Like I'm looking at my head coach like, what the hell happened?
Let's get into this offense
what
break.
he did. What happened with you? You know what I mean?
Let's get into this offense because Eberflus does oversee this offense, and there were a lot of questionable calls. The 4 pre-snap penalties, Sean, those were huge. When they had their team meetings and they're trying to fix this offense, and they're talking about their main focus was the flow of the game, staying in the flow of the game, not having negative plays, and they shot themselves in the foot with that yesterday. But Brandon, on the bare minimum, we talked about this, and I said when they come out into this game, it's got to be quick passes. Get the ball out quick. Caleb's got to get it out quick. You got to have this design.
They have to be
you got to establish the run. The Washington Commanders were giving up 5 yards per carry going into that game. That's not good. You needed to establish the run. They didn't do either. They dropped Caleb back and had him hold on to the ball for way too long. They weren't staying in rhythm. They were having negative plays.
Dustin, they had 34 rushes for $196 and average 6 yards a carry.
Yeah, but they did not come out that way, Sean.
They did not come out that way, correct.
They did not come out that way. You had 56 yards on one play at the end of the third quarter. There was 50 seconds left in the third quarter when they established the run game, Sean.
Correct.
They had not established the run game. You need to come out with that. You don't come out firing like that and dropping your quarterback back for 7-step drops against that defense.
Well, especially when they found that Caleb Williams was nervous. Once they saw Caleb Williams was not settled down. He was obviously not prepared. He was still shaking. You got to go change something to take him out. Instead, they're like, throw. Like, you guys, Caleb Williams couldn't hit the side of a barn if you paid him $1 million. Take the ball out of his hand for a couple drives. Dude.
He had bad
Take the ball. Yeah, dude, that pass to Roma Dunze behind him, I think it was his third or fourth pass,
hilarious,
was absolutely atrocious. And another thing I want to talk about in the offense, specifically the offense, since Dustin's talking about it, the Bears ran 2 or 3 end arounds in this game, and they both worked great. DJ Moore's worked for first down. Yeah. Roma Dunze juked like 5 people on his end around. That might have been his best play.
Yards after the catch monster. Like, he's a guy who makes
Roma Dunze for 8 weeks in this offense is being way underutilized, and it's starting to aggravate the shit.
2 catches for Rome, 2 catches for DJ, and 0 for Keenan. What an absolute embarrassment!
And you got your tight end to target 1 and late in the fourth quarter. I mean, what the hell, dude?
That play was that the play where he was running out and he turned around and threw back? Was that?
No, that was the Keenan Allen.
That play was incredible.
That play was like, that's one of those plays where your quarterback's letting go of that ball. You're like, no, don't do that. And then it gets completed because Caleb is Caleb.
And Dustin texted something.
In that game, man.
Dustin texted something in the middle of the game, and I just want to talk about it real quick because you couldn't be more right, Dustin. Why is it just the Chicago Bears? Only the Bears. Whenever it's like 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1, I always feel like they're not going to get it. Why? Why is it only the Bears? I watch every other team in the NFL, and I'm like, they're going to get this shit. No doubt, they're getting this shit. I watch the Bears, and I'm like, they're not going to get this. It's not going to happen. They're going to do some stupid ass shit. They're going to throw the ball backwards. They're going to throw the ball sideways. They're going to give it to Doug Kramer.
Don't get fucking cute. That was Getsy all over again. That handoff to the fullback.
It's Getsy 2.0.
That was Nagy all over again.
You don't trust
time to assert your dominance, dude.
You don't trust Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, and Caleb Williams to get 1 yard. You're going to throw the ball laterally to DJ Moore on a screen pass, and then he gets tackled right away by the face mask. You don't trust him to throw 1 yard. 1 yard? You don't think he can get 1 yard?
You don't trust your offensive line to get enough push to get 1 yard with your running back.
Guys, you didn't trust Roschon Johnson twice in that game to get 1 yard, and the guy has like 4 touchdowns on this season. I mean, like, what are we? Every time he's been asked to gain, I think right now, man, of all the times Roschon's been asked to gain a yard on the goal line or just for a first down, he's like got to be 5 for 6 or something.
He missed one.
Why are you not? Yeah, he did miss one. I think it was last week.
Why are you not? 15 years of not converting third down will do that.
It's got a pretty damn good. Well, it's got a pretty damn good success rate right now. Why are you doing something like handing it to the fullback when Roschon Johnson, guys, against a defense that Dustin just forementioned is allowing 5 yards per carry?
They're missing their best player.
Who on that defensive line intimidates you? Why are you not just running the ball up the middle? It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make it. Roschon Johnson would have scored a touchdown on the very play that Kramer got the ball.
Yeah, no, he would have. But Kramer, what he's good at, like we said, is blowing open a big fucking hole and letting Roschon walk in.
Let Kramer do what he does. He's on the field.
Play to your player's strengths. That's what Kramer wants to do. Kramer don't want the ball in his hands, guys. He said, take it. I don't want it.
All 3 of you guys have now said that on the podcast. I mean, man, don't you wish you could just ask Matt, like, hey, Matt, what advantage should you have as opposed to giving it to Doug Kramer as opposed to letting Doug Kramer clear a hole and give it to Roche? What advantage do you think you gave yourself by just handing it off to a lineman whose hands are covered in tape? He's got wrist guards on. He's not known for he doesn't hold the ball a lot. He doesn't handle the ball a lot.
Fingers, bro.
Yeah, he's got huge.
Kyle,
he's never had a carry at any level ever.
And Kyle, and then, hold on, Kyle, and that's an important question because no matter who you hand the ball to, because it's not like if you're handing the ball to Kramer so quick, like you're catching anybody off guard. It's a goal line defense. They're coming forward. That's what they're doing.
Guys, real quick, there's something in the chat. There's something in the chat going on that I just want to address. Zach and Antmis are talking about the Hail Mary play. We'll get back to the offense, but I do just want to clear this up. It was TJ Edwards that was in that spy position, supposedly, according to Eberflus, covering the running back, guys. Edmonds was downfield. He was supposed to double on McLaurin with Jalen Johnson to keep him from getting a chance at the ball. Tyreek Stevenson, by all accounts, besides Kevin Byard, who Kevin Byard said Elijah Hicks was supposed to cover the bad guy on that play. But Tyreek Stevenson was supposed to cover Noah Brown on that. It was Edwards not blitzing, Edwards not being a defensive back that could be in the end zone defending that play, or a Roma Dunze I saw mentioned earlier, a receiver that can get up and knock the ball down. That doesn't make any sense to me. But Edmonds was downfield. Edwards was the QB spy.
We're going to be talking about this
position on that defense.
We're going to be talking about this play for a long. This game will be remembered for a very, very, very long time. And you know what the most ironic? You know what the most ironic thing about this entire game was? Is that before the Hail Mary, Noah Brown couldn't catch anything if you put a gun to his head. He dropped like 5 passes in that game.
If it's falling to you like this, Kyle, it's pretty. You or I could have caught that fucking ball.
And then real quick, Kevin Byard's been awesome. But real quick, I just want to talk that tight end, that backup tight end, absolutely ran him over, man.
That's gonna happen.
Listen, I'm not giving him any grief for it. He's been an awesome. Kevin Byard's been a top 5 Bear this year for the Bears too. He's been amazing, dude. But he got ran over
in that locker room. He's a leader. But let's get back to the offense because we were talking about establishing the run game. Did we see what happened once the Bears started establishing a run game in that third quarter? Into the fourth quarter, what happened?
The offense started clicking.
Right back to
the fourth
you could pass successfully. They were respecting the run. Caleb got into a rhythm.
You know what happened when they started running the ball? He went 5 for 8 for 95 yards. That's
exactly right. That's
because you were scoring touchdowns, and Caleb Williams had 3 passing yards in the third quarter, and they were still scoring. So you guys keep running, run the ball. We talked about it all 2 weeks, the whole 2 weeks off. Establish the run and get after Jaden Daniel.
I've said this repeatedly, and I said it. I'll keep saying it because he proved me right again. Coming out of a bye, this guy is not prepared. I don't know what they did for 2 weeks. They had the advantage to be prepared, be ready, and they were not. That game plan, I don't even know what game plan Waldron came in with
Sean,
this
do you have
team.
Eberflus's record coming off of a bye week? Do you have that in front of you?
And while he grabs that, guys,
I tried to find it. I know he won last year.
It was the Lions, right?
We'll just pull up the schedule the last 2 years and look at where the bye is.
Yeah, I could.
But yeah, Jebediah says props to, I think this is funny. And
last year he beat Detroit out of the bye.
I like this comment.
Okay. Props to y'all for studying that play. Too painful to rewatch. Almost as bad as Chris Conte's blown coverage. Listen,
it's up to
I watched that play multiple times, and I'm still sick to my stomach right now, just replaying it back in my head, guys. Oh my God! Thank you, Jebediah, for.
Like I said, man,
but it's not easy.
So I've never actually asked it. So like, do we all? Does this happen to everybody? I get like literally uncomfortable rewatching that play.
Dude, I'm sick to my stomach.
It makes me uncomfortable.
I had to put my 8-month daughter in her bassinet because I was like, I don't want her to see me punch the wall when I'm about to punch. I like scream and yell. I don't want her to think I'm mad at her. So I literally put her in my room and went downstairs and just started screaming. I mean, you know what? Even when he was running around back there for like, 8 seconds. Now it's 9 seconds.
12
10 seconds. I'm like, oh God, no. And then when he threw that, I'm like, this is not good. You can't give anybody in the NFL 15 seconds.
10 seconds to throw the football.
Here, we're going to disagree on this, and I understand.
13 seconds.
I understand we're going to disagree on this. I can understand a light holding call. There was a blatant holding call on 55 that changed the game. That he could have broke off. Jaden Daniels was right there. He was being gripped by his neck. Watch the play.
No one's gonna call that, Sean. The refs are not gonna call that. They're not gonna call it. Just like they're not gonna call pass interference on our guys on the at the back of the field. So like our guys should take advantage of that. Just like their guys did.
So what do you guys hold on. What I want to talk a little bit about what do you think this means?
The blindside block was egregious to Zach Lipsy. So
Yeah.
What do you think?
Same play.
Kyle
it was.
Kyle
But they're not gonna call it. Play fucking football, dude. How about you don't end up in that position? How about you don't put yourself in the position where that's the play you need to win the game? That's
Vernon,
what I say.
Vernon, go. What do you got?
All right, so Kyle, you had a hot take about the Bears and
This is nice.
who this defines they are this game, and I think each one of us kind of thinks this Bears team is different from the other. Honestly, I think this is the one thing we're all going to honestly disagree on and what direction they're going to head from here. So Kyle, go ahead, kick that off. I want to know what you think this means for the Bears and how this defines who they are.
I mean, I don't really necessarily believe this defines who they are. First of all, I agree with Sean. At this point, with how bad the situation has got, I am almost willing I would almost rather see the Bears not make the playoffs if that's what it takes to fire Matt Eberflus. I'd be fine with if that's what it takes. If they're like, oh, if he makes the playoffs, he's not getting fired. If he doesn't make the playoffs, he's getting fired. Because I truly, honestly believe that this team will never reach their ceiling, their peak, if Matt Eberflus is the head coach. I just don't think he's a very good head coach. And on top of that, I think that I've talked about this for 3 weeks now. I didn't think the Bears were going to go 3-0 against these three teams, the Commanders, the Patriots, and the Cardinals, because Caleb Williams is a rookie. He's going to struggle, and I'm okay with that. I'm still not worried about Caleb Williams. That was, to me, Caleb Williams' worst performance this year. I think that was worse than Titans game, and I am still not worried about Caleb Williams in any way, shape, or form. What I am concerned about, he didn't turn the ball over in the Tennessee Titans game, did he?
He did a lot on his legs. He did a lot on his legs.
Yeah,
but you guys, what I'm more concerned about is I'm telling you guys for a fact, people keep saying, oh, they look better, they're doing this, they're tweaking. If the Bears offensive line, especially if they continue to have injuries, which they've had for the last 4 years, so expect them, continues to play the way they're playing, Caleb Williams is not going to play all 17 games this season. He's not going to play all 17 games this season. If he doesn't do a couple miraculous pocket escapes in that game, there was one in particular, you guys, it was the second drive of the game where he should have been absolutely killed. He should have been killed. Murdered, but he found a way to work his magic.
He's really good at not taking hits.
Yes, I keep calling him a magician, man, and this should be his nickname that sticks with him for the rest of his career. The guy is an absolute magician in the pocket. He's like a ballerina. I've never seen anything like that. He is so light on his feet. When he starts running, he looks a little goofy, but moving around in the pocket, he looks like Patrick Mahomes, man. And I'm not comparing the two quarterbacks. People are always like, oh, you guys think he's Pat? I don't think he's Patrick Mahomes, but he looks like he does Patrick Mahomes shit when he's in the pocket. Everything starts breaking down. He's always looking forward. He's always looking to win the game, regardless of what's going on around him. There's not many quarterbacks in the NFL could do that. Now, Brennan, when you talk about the state of the Chicago Bears, I think this is a team with an average offensive line, a below average head coach. And I think every time they play teams that are good teams in the NFL, the Vikings, the Packers, the Lions, they're going to be close games, and the Bears are going to win some of them, and they're going to lose some of them. And ultimately, if they finish fourth in this division, which they are right now, they're fourth in the division, like we said at the beginning of the season, this division is starting to work out exactly how we said it was going to work out, right? Lions, Packers, Vikings, Bears. That's what we talked about. Or Bears, Vikings, switch them. It doesn't matter. But if they finish fourth in this division, guys, I agree with Dustin. I don't think the fourth place team in this division could go to the playoffs. I don't think they can. Good. If that means Matt Eberflus gets fired, so be it. Okay. And you know what? Up to Dano's comment earlier in the show, Dan, I think you're 100% correct. There is going to be whispers of Cliff Kingsbury being the Bears head coach.
Oh, God, no.
100%. It's coming. I'm not saying he should, but it's coming. You guys know that's coming. That's coming.
Sean, where are you at with the state of the Bears after this heartbreaking loss?
I kind of really have the same opinion as Kyle here, man. I think we have a below average coach. I think that we're in for really hard times when we play Minnesota, because if this team can dial up 51% of the blitzes, that defensive line is a little bit more talented, and he blitzes at 71%. I don't know if the Bears can right now with this offensive line against these defensive lines in our division. I guess maybe the Lions, but we're going to have to outscore them, which I don't think we can do. I don't like the Bears winning many games in this division. I really don't. And I don't even know if they're going to be able to win in Arizona because they can't put together a competent game plan on the road.
Just so we're all we're all clear. I am going to stick to my 10-7 record prediction from the beginning of the season because that's what I picked, and I'm going to stick with it until I don't think the sky is falling, but I also don't think the Bears are the team that played the Carolina Panthers and the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's somewhere in the middle, guys. It's
Kyle,
somewhere in the middle.
back to what I said at the beginning. When this guy has a chance to win, he cannot close out games.
No, he can't.
Matt Eberflus has shown this.
He
cannot do it.
And we talk about these plays like.
I don't trust him against O'Connell. I don't trust him against LaFleur.
No.
And I don't trust him against Campbell.
Those are better teams.
6 games. You're telling me you trust him over Kyle Shanahan? I don't know, man. I don't trust him over any of these guys. And that's the back half of this schedule. The Bears
all three of those guys are better coaches than Matty.
Oh my God, by a landslide. It's not even.
Let's talk about what we saw. Let's talk about what I saw in that game that I can put some hope on. Okay, because it's not easy. It's after a game like that. It's not easy to find those.
Here, really quick, Dustin. The only thing that I was really happy about was what I touched on earlier. 56 minutes of bad football when it counted. He put it together, erased the bad, put the team on his back, and put this team in a position to win.
A game-winning drive. That was great to see.
Here, the other thing I thought was they thought getting DeAndre Swift, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Roma Dunze, and Cole Kmet was all of a sudden going to make this the Detroit Lions offense. Detroit has the best offensive line in football. You should have built this team from the inside out, and the Bears would probably be competing with the Lions right now for the division.
Okay. No, yeah. And I don't know that I ever saw the Bears competing with the Lions for this division. I did not see the Bears competing with the Lions.
If they built from the inside out over the past 3 years and they had a legit offensive line right now, they would freaking be competing for this division right now.
I'm not saying you're saying or not saying, Sean. I'm saying that coming into the season, people thought the Bears had a chance to win this division. That was some talk.
I did not.
No. The Lions are the best team in football, guys, and they're in the same division as the Bears. And the Packers are better than the Bears right now, too. So the Bears need to be better than the Vikings by the time this season ends to have a shot at the playoffs. The good things I saw in that game, the thing that will carry the Bears no matter what, and I've said it from week 1, and I'll say it again now, is the grit that they have. They don't quit. They don't have like a situational awareness where they're like, oh shit, we're out of this game. They are constantly pushing to stay in the game, and it's the defense that does it for them, man. The defense held them in this game. That was the most impressive thing to me throughout this entire game. The fact that they would continually find themselves in the red zone and hold Jaden Daniels to field goals. That wins you games, guys. That keeps every game within, just like we saw last night, man, a chance to win it in the last play of the last drive of the game, potentially. That's what that defense does. So we can hang our hats on that. The problem is going to be Shane Waldron, guys. Shane Waldron is the problem with this Bears offense. It's not Caleb Williams. Shane Waldron did not call plays to get Caleb Williams in rhythm. Shane Waldron did not make it a point of emphasis to establish the run, which is what has made this offense successful the last 2 weeks.
Well, there's contributions from both of them.
Huh?
There's contributions from both of them. Caleb Williams he's going to have his rookie woes, man. I mean, that's
for sure. And he made bad passes. I've said that. But once you're putting him in a position where he's dropping and reading to start the game instead of just, this is your first read, let's get him open on a quick slant, get the ball out. And Caleb does some things too where he's supposed to get the ball out and he holds on to it. Like there was a screenplay where he was supposed to get fake one way and go the other way.
He's not good at screens, man.
He's not good at screens. He just held the ball.
He does that time and time again. I don't know why he's so afraid of getting rid of that ball in the screen pass. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. After that play, I was like, why did you do that again? You saw it worked out the last 3 times you did that. Yeah, well, I don't understand. Just throw it to his feet. Throw it to his feet like every other quarterback in the NFL. Throw it to his feet.
Yeah. And like you guys said, Caleb got into a rhythm once like we said, once the run game got established in that fourth quarter, and he made some plays to get them in position to win the game. The fact of the matter is, no matter how bad we feel, the Bears had that game won. The Bears scored a touchdown to take and that 2-point conversion play, guys, was a very well-designed play. We can shit on Waldron this whole game. Waldron drew up a hell of a play to get that 2-point
Dustin,
conversion.
wouldn't you like to see them do that play like to get a touchdown?
I
said that to Sean. Like, do that play instead of the Doug Kramer thing. Do that play on that play. Get the 5 points. Don't worry about the 2. Get the 5.
I think Shane Waldron is pretty good. I think Shane Waldron is pretty good at drawing up one play when you need to. I think he's shown that, but he's just
planning for 2 weeks though.
What's that?
He's not good at game planning 2 weeks ahead though.
And they didn't come out with the way I envisioned them coming out, and that was the biggest problem. It set them back, and then they started getting negative plays, and they just couldn't catch up to it. But the Bears defense will carry them through any game, guys. The Bears will be in every game they play this year. This will be a competitive year, so we can hang our hats on that. And I think that this game, I think they have good culture in that locker room, guys. And this game, they're going to do what they need to do with this to turn it into positive momentum for them and positive energy going into their next matchup.
And to your point, Dustin, I think this game defined. People can make fun of it all they want. I've been heard back and forth about this for years. People have been talking about it, this style of this scheme of defense. But this defined that the bend don't break. It works for the Bears. I don't know if it hasn't worked for teams in the past, but it's working.
I don't know how they don't break.
That game should have been. You're right. That game should have been 24-0. Any other team in the NFL, that would have been 24-0. But every time they get to that red zone, the red area, the Bears just, once they start getting crunched up a little bit, you cannot find space on them. You can't. You just can't. And that's what's missing two of their best players. The two of their best players were in that game. And like Dustin said, we can hate on Matt Eberflus all we want. The only thing I will say that I always give Matt Eberflus, always give him a positive, a check for.
Defense comes to play, guys.
And these guys keep playing for him, man. They don't care. They keep playing and playing and playing and playing. No matter how many times Matt Eberflus screws the game up, they continue to play hard no matter what. It doesn't matter.
That's a source of pride from an individual standpoint.
Yeah, but they're doing it as a team as well, man.
No, it's a team culture. That team culture is around their defense.
Yeah,
that team's culture is around their defense.
As I said earlier, he's a great DC masquerading as a head coach.
Well, let's give Brennan his opportunity to talk about where he thinks the Bears are going.
Matt, I've thought that for years, but I thought this time with them getting rid of what was his name?
The owner, the president of football, Ted Williams.
Yes, Ted Phillips. When they got rid of Ted Phillips and they said they were going to give more control to this regime, I kind of felt like it was the change that we needed.
Yeah,
but,
so apparently we need George McCaskey to die of a heart attack, according to him.
Jesus.
He was just kidding, everybody.
It's a joke, guys.
Ill will on nobody, guys. I don't.
Brandon, let's hear it, man. What do you got?
What you got, Brando?
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly one of the toughest losses I've probably ever watched as a Bears fan. It's going to stick with us all. Hopefully not with the Bears players themselves. They face it, they address it in practice, they watch that film, and imagine what it's going to be like watching that film. It's not going to be fun to watch that film. So you make sure you learn from what happened and you move forward. And this is what I do believe, guys. I don't know. Something says to me that we still definitely haven't seen the best Bears team we're going to see this year.
No,
I don't believe.
Nope, we have not
seen it.
We definitely haven't seen the best Caleb. That's for sure. That's still coming.
I think that
nobody's watching Dano. Don't worry.
I think that it is coming. I think the Bears are going to play at their best on both sides of the ball. We know the defense is going to keep playing football, guys. I was texting you during that game. This is one of the best offenses in the NFL.
Defenses.
No, Jaden Daniels. This is what I think it was a top 3 scoring offense.
Statistically, yeah.
They're number 1 scoring and going into that game.
Number 1 scoring, number 2 in rush touchdowns, number 1 in rush touchdowns per game, number 2 in total rushing yards per game. Yeah, they're top 5.
They score more points a game than Detroit?
They're scoring
31.9 points 32 points per game. The Commanders
scored like 45 points 4 weeks in a row.
Detroit scored 45 without throwing 100 yards on offense.
They were either number 1 or number 2 in points scored going into this game.
Sorry, let Brando finish. Sorry, bud.
No, yeah, it's all good, man, for sure. So I think it's huge to see that defense come out on the road with a crowd that was really effective, man. I mean, it's just really loud. They had an impact on that game, but to see them come out on the road, that defense, and continue to do this red zone stand, this red zone thing, man, this red zone defense of the Bears is, I mean, it's just incredible.
That should be a huge point of pride for us as Bears fans.
I haven't seen anything like this in a long time. I've seen good defenses, and they didn't take the ball away, guys. And I've said to you a lot, I think that's what's going to dictate whether or not they win football games.
They lost the turnover battle, 1-0.
But I do think that we haven't seen the best. I mean, I do think that this offense is going to get it right. I really do. And Kyle, you might be right well, all of you, I guess, this coaching staff might just always be bad enough to lose.
Well, Burnett, what about the offensive
what the
line?
players
That
do,
doesn't
but
concern you, man? I mean, it's bad, Burnett. It's bad. They're allowing
Of course.
over 4 sacks.
But you're
a game.
right. You can't terminate any of these guys right now. You're 4-3. You know what I mean? There's no there's reacting, but you still can't.
But I mean, it's
overreact.
going to bite him in the ass later on down in the season, right? For sure. For sure, the Vikings are going to get after Caleb Williams. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, unless the Bears plan on making some
Kyle,
crazy
that offensive
trades.
line
Bears'
was
offensive
injured.
line
You
held
keep
up really
dismissing
well
it.
until Braxton Jones went down, man.
Yeah, you keep dismissing
Well, you
injuries.
guys-
That
you
injuries
guys-
made an impact.
They
You
did.
guys, without
I agree with that. The
without
injuries
without
definitely made
you
an
guys
impact.
without an
No
athletic
arguing
quarterback.
that,
So if you had a
yeah.
quarterback
Kyle,
who
hold
was
on,
more
hold on,
stand in
hold
the
on.
pocket type quarterback, he would have been killed on Sunday. Caleb
Kyle,
Williams
let me
made them
say
look a lot
this.
better
Let
than
me
they
Good
say
thing
did.
we
this.
got Caleb.
Yeah,
Let me
he
say
made him
this.
look a lot better. He made him look a
Let
lot
me say
It's
better.
going to
this.
continue to do that. That's part of the dynamic of why I thought the offensive line would improve this year from
But
last
listen,
year.
he's also going to hit at some point, and he's not going to be expecting it, and it's going to hurt. It's
Let
going
me
to hurt.
say this too, guys. The good
Yeah,
thing
it's football.
so I do believe this defense on the road keep continuing to hold this team to field goals time and time and time again. I mean, right? Didn't it felt like the defense had to have felt like they were on the heels the whole fucking game. I mean,
Eventually, they're going to have to pay that bill, man.
And-
Eventually, they're going to have to pay
Yeah, the
that
Lions ain't kicking field goals, man.
Yeah,
They're going
there's
for it
no
on
way.
six
But I'm
down.
saying, man, the defense continues to show all of us that it's this is who they are.
It's going to
legit.
keep them in the game.
they're
But the
missing-
offense does need
they're
to start
missing- hold
carrying
on.
its own
They're-
water, man.
They're missing their two best players, and they still did what they did. So,
I agree.
Well, they're missing
their
two of their
best
top
players,
5
yeah.
players. Two of their top 5 players on defense. But then on the offensive side of the ball, man, Caleb Williams did get better throughout that game. He did. And you guys, you talked about what the offensive line did. It's not like when Caleb Williams was doing good things, the offensive line was any better. It's not like, oh, when the offensive line held up, he looked great. No, I mean, he was getting the hell out of the pocket and making plays and being the Caleb Williams that we all wanted to see, that we've been seeing for the entire time we've
He's
been
that
watching this
Caleb
kid.
Williams.
Yeah,
There's no
and
doubt.
so I think
He's the
it's,
guy,
we
man.
haven't
He's the
seen even
guy.
close to what we're gonna see yet. I still believe in Caleb Williams. I believe in this team is 4-3. And Kyle, I'm gonna say this to you. I still believe, especially after what I watched this weekend, besides possibly that Detroit team, because that offense is just so good. And I still like the Bears defense, man. I like the Bears defense against that unit, but the Bears can beat anybody, can beat the Vikings and the Packers. They can beat the Lions. The Bears can, I still believe the Bears can
They
beat
can
any
be in
team
every
with the-
game. They will be because of their defense. But I
I
will
think-
say this:
I
the
think
thing
the
that
Bears' best chance to win in the division is going to be at home. I think.
Well, you
they're
guys,
gonna
what do you guys think
slow
about this comment here? What do you think about Zach's comment here? Because I agree, the Packers did
Yeah,
not
yeah.
look like a good football team on Sunday. That was
No.
I watched part of that game, guys. That was brutal.
you're
Brutal
seeing
game to
chinks,
watch, man.
you're seeing
Brutal.
chinks in the armor of these NFC teams for sure. That's something that is worth pointing out. The Packers did not look good, and Jordan Love don't seem to be able to stay healthy. And then you got Sam Darnold, who might
No.
be regressing back
And
into
Jordan-
Sam Darnold. So like
And Jordan Love
there's-
didn't look good before he got hurt. He did not look good in that game before he
he
got
was
hurt.
having a bad game. He had made a couple of big plays, like, and he's always going to be good for that. You're going to have boom and bust, but that is one of the biggest weaknesses of that Packers team. And the Bears take the ball away, guys. So like those matchups are going to be
and the
they're
Bears
gonna be
took the
intriguing
ball
when
away.
they happen.
And the Bears took the ball away from Jared Goff in a single game 4 times a year ago.
And he's a very efficient quarterback.
The Lions are going to be in trouble when they come play on natural grass in Chicago or
I think so.
natural grass in Green Bay. I
And in
don't want any
December,
part of Detroit
right?
in Detroit.
December.
Thanksgiving might be a massacre. I hate to say it, man.
The Thanksgiving Massacre 2020.
But I mean, well, let me ask you guys. I know this is tough to do, but right now, I'm not talking about what you think is going to happen in the future. I'm not talking about just right now. There's 16 teams in the NFC. Where do you place the Bears? Don't go off record. Go off with your eye test. What you watch. You watched other teams. You watched the Bears. You watched all. What do you think the Chicago Bears are?
8.
Right.
You think they're 8th in the NFC?
They're a wild
right?
card team to me. They're a wild card team.
Yeah.
So you guys got them from 7 to 9, somewhere in between there in the NFC.
Yeah, 6 or 7 is probably where I place them.
But don't
in
you
the
guys
NFC.
think that's good, right? I mean, they're getting better every year.
Yeah, that's better than last year, the last 2 years, dude.
Yeah, that's good. I
getting
don't think
better.
you win 10 games this year, 9 games this year, and you don't make the playoffs because it's seeding. That's a positive. I mean, that's a good year for the Bears with a rookie quarterback.
Unless Eberflus is still your head coach.
Is retained. Yeah, that's
I
the
was gonna
only way
say-
to fail this season.
For me, it's the chinks in the armor, not having a proper offensive line, not improving the offensive line in 3 years. These are deficiencies. And again, we're saying here next year we have all these draft picks. O-line, 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 O-line. I don't know how much confidence I have in this regime to build an O-line because they've been trying and everything they've done has not worked.
Well, Sean,
So-
one thing I will say about the offensive line
Trying,
is,
they haven't put much money into it.
Sean,
No,
one thing
they
I'll say,
They really
I'll say about the
haven't.
offensive line real quick is, I mean, we've talked about all season how we all think that Braxton Jones is average to below average. Well, he might be better than we think because we saw an average to below average tackle come in and it didn't look very good. Braxton Jones is only allowed like
Jones is about as good as I think he is. I don't think
I think he's might be slightly above average.
Here,
Just a
Braxton
tiny bit
Jones
above
looks
average.
good because we have nothing else.
But I'm
Well,
just
yeah,
saying, like,
but in the same
you
sense,
see what it looks like when
Sean,
somebody
Kyle,
who's
Yeah,
not
if I can
good.
replace Braxton Jones, I
in the
want to
same-
do that.
in the same
100%, but not
sense,
with
though,
Abagaji.
in the same
Not right
sense, though,
now. Maybe next year. Not right now.
What were
Right.
you going to say, Brando?
Darnell Wright and Braxton Jones. I mean, Tevin Jenkins looks good when he's playing, man, but Braxton Jones and Darnell Wright are the two Ryan Poles picks that are on that line, draft picks that are playing good enough. So I have much more faith in Ryan Poles using all three of those picks between the first and second round
You
next season and taking interior offensive linemen because I don't want to see him sign another.
Yeah, there's
free
a
agent
left tackle is
offensive
not going to.
lineman.
If the Bears continue to win games, the left tackle, the best the top 5 left tackles will be gone by the time the Bears go. So that's probably going to have to be a free agency thing. But I'll tell you guys this: when I was watching that game, I don't know if you guys have ever seen Wedding Crashers when they're playing the football game, and he's like, "Man, every time I look over, he's down on the ground." That's what I thought about Tevin Jenkins yesterday. I'm like, every time I look up at the TV, Tevin Jenkins is down on one knee, whining about something. I mean, the guy is just. First it was his hand, then it was his foot, then later on it was his calf. That's just who he is. This is who he is, and you cannot rely on that going into next season.
There's a funny connection with that Wedding Crashers thing too, because dude, the one of the lines in there is crab cakes and football. That's what Maryland does.
But man,
And that's where the Bears just got introduced to that. You know, the Commanders.
Awesome.
I just want to say, guys, I just want to express
Open
this.
with that, Dustin. Damn it.
Crab cakes and football. I just wanted to express this because, like, it's just important to me because from the Bears perspective, what we're talking about, how are they going to be going forward? You got 25 seconds. You just scored a 2-point conversion to take a 3-point lead in that game. And you think you got it and you're going to get away with a game you should have had no fucking business being in. The Bears had no business being in that game, having a chance to win that game. And I'm thinking like, wow, they're that team that wins games they're not supposed to win, that finds a way to win, and they're still learning and getting better because they are a young team, Kyle. But then that flips on its head in a matter of seconds, and now you lose that game. And now do we have more questions than we have answers going into our next game? And is that in your head? That's something I'm thinking about as a fan. I tend to think that this is a good, strong locker room that will get it together, but that has to creep into your head.
Yeah,
like,
and Dustin,
they
I
play
agree.
like shit. Every
Dustin,
offensive player said they
Dustin,
play like shit through 3/4 of that football.
You said it earlier, Dustin, that you're like, well, I think Shane Waldron's the problem. I don't think Shane Waldron's going to change. I think you're going to get Doug Kramer carries. I think you're going to get DeAndre Swift running backwards on 4th and inches on the goal line in Indianapolis. I don't think that's going to change. I think you're going to continue to see these plays where you're like, we all look at each other. We're like, what the? I wouldn't have called that. I mean, I'm not a football coach. I wouldn't have called that shit. Like, I mean, this is who he is. I think like Dustin, you said earlier, the perfect phrase was he's getting cute. Why are you getting cute, man? I don't understand it. Can the Bears just look like a football team from start to finish for one game in our lives, from start to finish, make football plays every play?
The Bears fans are the kings of like, oh my God, why would our offensive coordinator even choose that play? It's like, how many times have we been saying
you
that?
Did you guys
like,
see that?
What we expect versus what actually happens on the field, and the cognitive dissonance there is insane.
You guys see that it's Sunday night halftime show was let's make fun of the Bears. I mean, I don't see that with any other team. I don't never see that with any other team. It's never like, hey, let's talk about how bad this was. And then
I'm not gonna lie, I stopped watching football.
I'm sorry, guys.
What's
his name? What's the guy's name that came on? What's the guy's name who came on 670 today? I always forget his name. I don't know why I always draw a blank.
Mark Schlereth?
Yeah, Mark Schlereth. I mean, maybe it's just because that's in my algorithm because I'm a Bears fan and it's happening all over the United States and I just don't hear it. But I never hear that about any other team. I don't hear that's the dumbest play I've ever seen call in the history. That's the worst play I've ever. Let me tell you 15 different ways why that's the dumbest thing you possibly could do. I never see that with any other team.
And then you can go find film of Schler saying that about Getsy 2 years ago. And then you can go find film of Schler saying that about Nagy 4 years ago. You can find the same. It's like it's on repeat, like it's a fucking broken record.
And then we're all sitting here like, oh, well, the Bears should have hired an offensive coach because they have a rookie quarterback. But the Commanders did the same thing as the Bears, and it's working. It's working. Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury is working. Matt Eberflus and Shane Waldron is not working.
How many plays did the Commanders run where you're like, what the fuck are they thinking running that play? How many plays did the Commanders run where you're like,
Zero.
How many? And the Bears had like 5 of them, bro. The Bears had like 5 of them. Like that's not.
And the Bears were putting a guy on the outside of the line to make sure that Jane Daniels couldn't get outside the pocket, and Edwards spying on him, and he still was juking through everybody. He still was juking past 5 people and getting a first down.
Happen a lot in the end.
Yeah, Jane Daniels somehow knew to jump in the air when someone was diving at him from behind.
That was so ridiculous.
Sean talked about that earlier. Just that football know-how. Like he felt that guy behind him and just jumped right over it. And then the TJ Edwards burn, and you're right. TJ Edwards, I felt so bad. He got hung out to dry on that play, that scramble to the right. I think it was the second drive of the game for the Commanders. And he just Jaden Daniels made TJ Edwards look like a fool. But he's going to do that to everybody, man. That's just who
he's a really special player.
He's so thin. He's so light on his feet.
That's why
he's going to be that elusive for the rest of his career.
That's why that Montez sweat sack was like so much more impressive than people probably think. You know what I mean? Like that.
It's like Jake Daniels gave himself up.
He ran him down and threw him with one arm on the that's impressive. And him being out, even he was out a lot in that game.
Yeah,
I remember that.
He went out early. He came back. Then he went out late. I think he came back again. Then went out again. So that killed them, man. Guys, talking about rearing like your ugly face. What about that? What about the fact that we've never been able to say the fact that they're not getting pressure outside of Montez Sweat is a problem? That yesterday was the first game I felt that way. Like if it ain't Sweat, it ain't happening.
There were some blitzes that were getting home. There were some blitzes that were making him move out of the pocket.
Dexter was hurt as well, and TJ Edwards did sack him.
And they were hitting him. I mean,
TJ Edwards did sack him.
Yeah, Daniels was hurting throughout that game. There were multiple times where he got up wincing for sure.
And I'll tell you, 2 guys that really kind of surprised me were Jacob Martin and Byron Cowart, dude. They actually filled in.
Cowart was good.
Did a really decent job.
Well, and you have to admit, I mean, we talk about
PFF rated player for the Bears yesterday.
Dude, we talk about Brisker and Gordon, but nobody mentioned. I mean, Dexter was playing injured in that game. Montez Sweat was playing injured in that game. Both those guys were in and out. That hurt the Bears as well, man. I mean, ultimately, the Bears defense still had a very good game. They only allowed 18 points, whatever they allowed, but that still hurts because Dexter had a sack a game until this game. He was averaging a sack a game until this game, and he was hurt. You could tell he was hurt. He was down on all fours for 2 minutes there before he walked off the field. Whatever.
He wasn't too hurt to pretend he blocked a field goal, though.
We talk about the weirdest. There's always like every game they say, "What's the odd play of the game?" What the hell was that?
It's just like
what was that?
I think the snap wasn't the snap screwed up.
Like
I don't know. It all looked the same as it always does to me. I'm like, how did that?
I think the snap was bad. I
don't know, man. Like it all looked good. It looked like it's just the way he hit it with his foot. Like I don't know.
I'm pretty sure. Look back at the ball was on its side when he kicked it, dude.
It was a huge play for the Bears.
I certainly thought it was tipped. When I saw
that,
I did too. I was like, "Oh, it's tipped."
Well, because Dexter was waving his hands around like he did something. Right after
then I saw that it didn't touch anybody, and I was like, "What?"
And the Bears special team played well in that game. I mean, the Bears, their punting unit was amazing. Torrey Taylor he might be the best Bear.
That's the key to this Bears team, guys. The way that the 3 phases can work together, the complementary football. But when you see what happens when one set of those 3 phases does not hold up its end of the bargain. The offense yesterday did not hold up its end of the bargain. Defense gave them solid field position. Defense kept the other team out of the end zone. Torrey Taylor was kicking it in very advantageous positions for the Bears defense to get off the field. The Bears offense just didn't come through, man. So this falls on Waldron for that in my mind in terms of the
they kind of did
not adjusting it.
They kind of did come through.
Well, they came through at the end, man. But like at that point, it was like,
Dustin's right. You shouldn't be in that
might be a little
position.
too late. Now they won. They took the lead in the game for sure.
No,
but
do you know how happy? No, man, because this is the what that offense did at the end of that game. I don't know if you guys it gave life. That defense was worn and tired.
DeAndre Swift
well, they
run.
needed that, yeah.
And
That
that's what gave Stevenson the go to the corner with the energy and get because like he was talking shit
hyped up.
because they just took the lead. He was talking shit for what the Bears offense just did, and not paying attention to the play.
No, he looked really dumb when Nolan Brown caught that pass. The fans he was talking shit to were probably like, "Oh, what did you have to say again, Terry? Could you come say that again?"
Apparently,
Say that
sorry,
again, man.
I shouldn't have said that. Apparently, he was like
he was talking to Bears fans. He was celebrating with Bears fans. It don't matter. It don't matter.
Yeah, it
he
doesn't
fucked
matter.
up big time, guys. It don't matter.
He refused his post game interview too.
Well, he came out today and he faced the music, man. So I mean, like, you gotta give him
what he was supposed to do. But
credit for
again,
that.
that's not his job. That should be in house, and your head coach should be holding the accountability at the podium, taking it up for your player. He made a mistake. He should be taking that up. Matt Eberflus, he passes the ball.
I should have called a timeout. What could you have done, Eberflus? What could you have done?
I
should have made sure they all understood what we were doing.
How about some self-reflecting?
I should have pressed up on the receivers the play before there.
Yep.
To make them actually feel some pressure.
Remember when the Lions, the only loss the Lions have this year, Dan Campbell opened that press conference and said, "This loss is on me." Eberflus has not done that in 3 years.
That's a player's coach. That's a player's coach.
Do you guys? Yeah, I mean, like I said, man, I felt even after that game, he kind of pushed the blame in another direction. I truthfully believe that. Like he let the narrative in the general media be Tyreek Stevenson lost this game because those pictures started going around quick, and he got asked questions in regards to that, and it was just like, yeah, I had a father-son talk with him, like. What about you, man? But I want to ask you guys this. Can Shane, like the same as Caleb Williams is a rookie quarterback who's, going to have the bumps in the roads, but who's going to learn and grow can Shane Waldron be a guy by the end of the game that you're not, or by the end of the season that you're not like?
Shane Waldron is not a fucking rookie.
No, he's been in the NFL for 15 years.
No, but I mean, do you think that he will learn that there's just things that don't need to occur?
Hey,
I think he should have learned that.
I don't think he's stubborn. I don't think he's trying to prove something like these other coaches we've had here, man. I think he's just getting inside his own.
He's not
it was
very
just
bright.
a bad call. It was a bad call. It wasn't, and I don't even think he was being the smartest guy in the room or being cute. I think he was thinking this is going to be a touchdown, and everybody's going to love me for it, and everybody's going to love this Bears offense.
Well, I hope he's not thinking about the credit he's getting after the play, man. I mean, to me personally, dude, I just think he's not very intelligent.
I
don't think he's that intelligent. I think if you compare him to other offensive minds in the NFL, he's not near the top when it comes to like football IQ. I think I think he thought that Doug Kramer play was going to work. I don't think it was for his own self-gratification. I think he thought it was a good play. And meanwhile,
they did think it was a good play, but they didn't think about the situation. The situation makes it a bad play.
I think he thought he was.
I think Doug Kramer was like, no.
He thought he was catching.
No, he clearly was. He was like, no, get it away from me.
Doug Kramer was like, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't call me.
I guess, guys, what I'm asking. Hold on. What I'm asking you is, with Eberflus is not a head coach. We know that, guys. He's a defensive coordinator, but he's a damn good one. I'm honestly, man, I thought about it today. I would call him the best in the NFL. I really would. I think he's the number one defensive coordinator in the NFL right now.
I don't know, but the Ravens and Broncos seem to be
for him and us. He's not a defensive coordinator.
Guys,
he's a head coach.
It was a combination.
He's not judged on a defensive coordinator basis.
Hold on. Let me finish. But Shane Waldron was also a part of why this team lost, because the Kramer play at the line.
Huge,
but hold on. Can Waldron eliminate that and be a good OC, the same as Flus is a good DC, where the head coaching woes, the shortcomings, don't prevent you from being the worst or the best team you can be?
No. Just like I think
Ramondre. And of course, Waldron can get better. Of course, he's not a rookie though.
But I think this is who he is. Like Tyreek Stevenson, guys. Tyreek Stevenson is going to get penalties for the rest of his career because he's aggressive and he's got an attitude. That's just who he is, and this is who Shane Waldron is. This is who he is. He's been in the NFL for 10 years. This is who he is.
going into after the Carolina and Jacksonville game that he figured out
He
how
figured
he wanted
something
to
out
use
and
his
was
offense.
going to retain that.
Yes.
No, he figured out that his opponents are garbage and he can do whatever he wants. That's what he figured. He figured out that the Panthers and the Jaguars are absolutely atrocious and he could do whatever the hell he wants and succeed. That's what he figured out.
Yeah, but don't you use those games to build up and figure out what works and what doesn't work? And that's what I thought.
I will say, you guys, I think
games.
Caleb Williams just deserves a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of scrutiny for, I think, if he completes the passes on the first drive in which those guys were open, DJ
They
Moore,
actually moved the sticks.
then the like you guys always talk about the flow, the game flow. The flow looks different if those plays are complete, and they should have been completions.
And you're moving the chains, yeah.
It's part of.
Am I crazy to say that maybe? I don't think this has been a thing.
No, you're not crazy.
Maybe the Bears should come out in a no huddle offense. Should the Bears start their game and
it almost seems that Caleb
no huddle and just try to get a little rhythm. Try to get a little rhythm before you slow it down. Should the Bears take that approach? Because that's.
I mean, I'm willing to see whatever they could do to get some offense going at the beginning of a fucking game. Give it to me. Try it. I don't care. If there's something to try, please try it, because you're not getting offense to start your drives. Your first drive of the game is always a failure. It's always a failure, and then it compounds. So yeah, please try something. Try something different.
They came into this game averaging 1.67 points in the first quarter of games this year. And what did I say on Wednesday, Kyle? I'd like to see them come out, open up, move the ball, put some pressure on their defense.
And my response to you was, even if they don't score in the first couple drives, which they usually don't, you have to commit to the run. Do not give up on the run. Keep running the ball. You have to keep running the ball. That's all I was
saying the whole game, guys, and they weren't fucking doing it. They just weren't.
And then you see that Swift play, and that Swift play wasn't just a touchdown, guys. It woke the Bears up.
That's why you do that.
You see Swift proud and go, yeah, shh, everybody, shh, we're here, we're coming, it's coming. We just got to get, we got to get flow here.
The whole game, I was waiting for little curl routes or something to get him in space where
he can
just. As soon as he got that pitch, I knew he was housing it.
Yeah,
I stood up on my couch and I stood right in front of my TV. I was like, this motherfucker is gone. You could see it; it laid out perfectly. But that's why you have to stick with the run when you have DeAndre Swift, because he might have two negative plays, but then he's going to bust one for 50 yards.
Shout out Karan. Can we shout out Karan on that play?
He took out two defenders on that play. He pulled out. He took out two defenders on that play. One with his legs. He performed really well.
And Sean, I said to you in a text,
on that play,
I would let Karan play a little bit after a couple weeks of practice. Let him play a little bit on run plays, and that's where he's going to be effective early in his career. He's going to get comfortable doing that, because it looked last night to me. You guys can talk on him, but it looked last night to me like during the running plays, he was effective. He was pushing people out of the way, and that's what he did in college.
You want to know the truth?
It's no knock on him, man. He didn't know what to do.
Carolina
he didn't know who to block.
When we're blowing those teams out, he should have been in getting some reps.
He didn't know who to block yesterday, guys, and Tony Romo made that clear. He was like,
the
tackle can never take the outside guy. It's got to take the inside guy. That's what,
not in this game.
I mean, that's just it's coaching. It all comes back to coach. Ultimately, again, it all comes back to coaching.
When you're blowing out a team like they were against Jacksonville, this is when you bring in Amendola, give him some reps, let him get used to the speed. We're talking about a guy again. He hasn't played meaningful football.
For the situation, I thought Amendola really upheld himself pretty well. He gave up a lot of pressures immediately. But he started to get into a better rhythm. He was really good on the run, and that's what the Bears needed to be doing anyways. They needed to be running the football. And Amendola
44 grade for passing. He was
in regards to DeAndre Swift.
He was thrown into the game in the middle of it, Sean. He's a rookie who hasn't played. So
after
that, Ryan Poles.
Well, that Burnham
shouldn't have been in this position, and neither should the Bears.
But the other option is Larry Borum.
Amendola is going to be a good player. I believe that. But hold on. But in regards to DeAndre Swift, after the 50-yard touchdown, he didn't touch the ball on the
next drive. They did not hand it to him,
and they went 3 and out. If that doesn't tell you something as a coach, like I just got a 50-yard touchdown from this guy, he didn't touch the ball on this drive, and we didn't move the chains at all. How does that not speak volumes to you? Like
that speaks volumes about Shane Waldron, Brandon, and that question you asked earlier.
How is that not speaking volumes to him? This has to be our game plan. It's got to.
No, yeah,
Like I
and
said,
so
Justin,
it's
and
on
I said
Flus
this,
to make
and I
sure
said,
that happens. It's
and
on
I said
Flus
this on
to
the
tell
bare minimum.
Waldron this is what needs to happen.
Yeah, and I said on the bare minimum, and I believe this. I was on a fantasy show, and I said I think DeAndre Swift is the best, most explosive, and I said stop myself and said running back, and then I came like he's the most explosive player in this offense. He should be
Period.
getting the ball
It might
at
be a
least
far cry.
30% of the time. What?
It might be a far cry and it might reek of desperation, but it's time for Matt Eberflus to stop calling defensive plays to focus on this offense. I mean, he should have gone over to you, like you're right, Brendan. He should have gone after the touchdown. He should have gone over to Shane Waldron and said, "Hey, we're running the ball now. We're getting open space in the run game. It's time to run the ball." Instead, pass, 3 and out. I mean, Matt Eberflus has to be involved in that decision. He's the head coach of the football team.
Yeah, and
He's
then here's
head
the other
coach.
thing: when he's talking about that Doug Kramer handoff, he's saying is when people are asking Eberflus about it right now is he's saying it was a 1 yard play. We only needed 1 yard. We practiced that play. That's your job as a head coach is to think about the situation. The situation is you're handing the football to a guy who's never received a handoff in a game, in the biggest game of their lives, and the biggest moment of that game. And maybe that's going to impact him. A head coach should think about that and override that play in my mind. Override that play.
Hey, Dustin, too. DJ Moore in his interview said that they had practiced this play in practice, but he never thought in that situation, in this type of game, that would be the play call. And that's coming from your number one wide receiver.
Yeah, and you guys want to talk about
that earlier, and I said, yeah, DJ Moore, I would think the same thing because I would not expect the people making choices for my team to be that oblivious.
When are we going to start talking about how the players have no problem throwing Matt Eberflus under that? I mean, this relationship is probably going to start to get
they're going to talk to Waldron. They're going to talk to Waldron again. They're going to talk to Waldron again. It's going to happen again.
The one player, guys.
Waldron's got another talk coming.
The one player, guys, that I like listening to after a game is Cole Kmet because he takes full responsibility onto himself. He puts it onto his players. He said straight up, we did not execute. There were plays out there. He did not throw Waldron under the bus. He did not throw Eberflus under the bus. He said the players we just watched film. I've watched the film 5 times. The players have to execute better. And yes, they do. And the coaches should be saying the same thing in their office. And I think that's where our problem is because Eberflus not taking accountability publicly makes you wonder if he's taking it privately. And that's a concern if your head coach can't do that.
Very well said. Very 100%. Well said. Very well said. Like you want to go to the camera and say, "Oh, it's all about the next game, one day at a time." Oh, go ahead, man. Go be a politician. Well, you better be in that office and that locker room and go, "Hey, this shit is on us just as much as it's on you guys. You guys have to execute, and so do we. And neither of us did that today. Nobody did that today except for the defense. Nobody else executed today. So I need to get better. Shane needs to get better. You guys need to get better. Caleb, you need to hit those passes early. Offensive line, you need to give him more time. Like go through each, even if you have to have individual meetings with these guys, then do it. But I agree with Dustin. I don't think me personally, just by the way his tone, the way he talked, I don't necessarily believe that that's happening. I can't tell you and tell you with validity that Matt Eberflus is good at holding people accountable, including himself. I don't think he's a good leader of men. I've said that before.
Well, I think this Tyreek Stevenson is going to go a long way to showing that situation because if there's not some discipline that's reported internally, then that brings more stuff into question in my mind in terms of that accountability you're talking about, Kyle.
Yep. There is no accountability in this organization. There hasn't been for a long time. And I think
but we thought it was changing with these guys.
Well, I think there's a lot of acceptance for that.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well,
that's a big problem.
Since we're probably going to be cleaning this thing up or finishing up here pretty quick, I want you guys all to give me your biggest 2 positives and biggest 2 negatives from that game.
I'm sure that's going to take 30 minutes.
No. I mean, the positives are I'm more concerned about because the negatives are easy in a game like that. But
so let's just go. I mean, I've already gone with some positives, guys. So, Brandon, you go ahead.
Well, our rookie quarterback led a game-winning drive and left.
That's number one to me.
That's number one. That's mine too.
That's number one.
We have gotten so accustomed to watching a quarterback play their worst football when it matters most. So this is a fresh change, I think, for everybody watching the Chicago Bears. And then another positive. Oh boy! After that game, it's a tough time. I would say
DeAndre Swift is one of the best playmakers in the NFL.
I would say
DeAndre Swift has established himself as one of the best playmakers in the NFL.
The defense went on the road, played either the number 1 or number 2 or 3 offense in the league, and proved that they're not going anywhere, man. And they were short 2 really quality players, and then they were short. We talked about Dexter and Sweat going out of that game, guys. As bad as Flus is, Like I said, we separate. You have to sometimes you separate the DC from the head coach because he's not going anywhere. I love the idea because
Not
he's going to be
separating
here.
them.
He's going to be here. I love the idea that this guy's coaching the defense, like calling the D. I can say that because this defense is. I said this in a text, and I firmly believe this after what I watched on that game and that game on Sunday. And I don't think it's going to change when you play teams like the Lions and the Packers. I think we're watching one of the best defenses we've watched in the Chicago Bears in a long time. One of the two best defenses
Brandon,
since 2018.
It's a great thing that he's calling this defense because it is performing very well. But then that begs the question: who the fuck is holding Shane Waldron accountable? If Eberflus is only focused on the defense and calling those plays, who's gonna tell Waldron, no, you're not running that fucking play, dude? You're not doing that.
I was hoping there'd be a moment like where he looked at they were talking and he was like, "What? No, you're not
Seriously,
Doug
Kramer. You want to hand Kramer the ball right now?
What are you
Get the
talking
fuck
about?
out of here. Get out of here.
Jebediah just took my 2, so I don't need to go.
Yeah, I was going to say, Caleb came in clutch and Torrey Taylor from Jebediah. We appreciate that, man. Like I was saying, Brandon, when I thought you were kind of struggling for words, I wasn't trying to cut you off. I thought you were like legitimately trying to figure out what you were going to say. But DeAndre Swift, guys, is establishing himself as one of the top 5 playmakers with the ball in his hands in the NFL. And that's a good guy to have on your offense. If only the Bears would figure out how to get him the ball in space earlier in the fucking game. That's what then everything else we saw it in the fourth quarter last night, everything builds off of that. And then, yeah, Brandon, I mean, the defense, dude, the defense is what this team will hang its hat on. I said it earlier. The defense is what this team will hang its hat on.
We'll keep them
all the way through this season. It'll keep them in every single game they play. My only concern with that, the other side of that coin, because there's the other side of every coin with this team that we're talking about right now, is that eventually they will start to break if this offense does not hold up its end of the bargain. So that's concerning to me. Time of possession, time on the field. This defense cannot keep getting put in the situation they were put in yesterday.
But they held up. Negatives or positives?
That's a positive, but like the opposite side of the coin with it. That's all.
My negatives are Shane Waldron's game plan. What?
You didn't say any positives. Oh,
you said Jebediah took his.
I was going to say Torrey Taylor and exactly what you said about
my bad. That's on me.
No, the readiness coming out of a bye after 2 weeks was definitely a big negative for me. I expected so much of this team to be a little bit more prepared and ready to go in such a big game, winning record, and it was a flat tire for 56 minutes and just unacceptable. And, the other one is obviously Waldron's game plan. For 56 minutes, had no idea what.
Sean's negatives are Waldron's game plan and Waldron's game.
Yeah, I was going to say because the unpreparedness was on Waldron.
Yeah, like Shea Waldron did.
Bruce had that defense ready to go.
I think being unprepared has a lot to do with Matt Eberflus because he's in charge.
Yeah, because he's supposed to be holding Waldron accountable. Yeah. Yes, like that's the whole point. Yes, so you can't have an offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator and no head coach. You need the guy above them. Keep them on track.
Vernon, your negatives?
Buddy Ryan, guys.
Vernon, your negatives?
My negatives is I've been thinking. I agree with you guys. This coaching staff could be what prevents this team from achieving anything this season.
Yeah.
Other than the one thing that I still believe is Caleb progresses because Caleb's just a good player. But yeah, the coaching staff might affect literally wins and losses. That's never good, man.
Well, they already have 2 for sure.
They already have twice.
2 for sure that they lost because of the coaching.
And my other biggest negative is. I hate to be cliche, but this team is really starting to get hit by this injury thing, man. I mean, I don't like you had Kyler Gordon out, you had Brisker already out, you lost Stevenson for a game, Sweat left that game, Dexter left that game, DJ Moore had something happen. I mean, he looked like he was miserable.
He came back.
He might have had the wind knocked out of him.
Yeah, he got hit hard. He was hit hard.
And then 3 offensive line guys, 3 people on the offensive line left that game.
Yep.
You had Braxton Jones, and all on the left side. You have Braxton Jones leave, and you had.
So, Vernon, is your negative? Is your concern? Is your concern the injuries or the depth behind them?
Well, Kramer and Karan being on one side of the line is disastrous. That's another thing Waldron should have fixed.
Kramer and Karan sounds like a really bad law firm.
What the hell are those 2 guys doing on the same side of the line, man? You got to move somebody over there, right? You cannot have Kramer and Karan playing on the same side of the line.
I don't think they had anybody left though.
Yeah,
but
no, I mean,
you gotta
if
move
you
a
move
player.
Pryor though, then you're
Pryor's gotta
maybe
go
weakening
over.
that spot.
Here,
You gotta
I'll be honest.
split up that-
Here, for me, Matt Pryor should have went to left tackle right off
And
the
Bill
bat.
Murray to left guard.
100%. I
Yeah.
don't know why that didn't happen, and you brought in a kid who hasn't played meaningful football in a freaking year.
I'll take
Well,
that
I-
over Borum. I'll take that over
Right, you know
Borum.
what? I actually like what you guys just
Me
said. I didn't
too.
even think about that. That would have been Matt Pryor at left tackle and Bill Murray at left guard would have been amazing. Real quick, can I go to my pot? So my positives piggyback off Brennan here. I mean, just it seems like every week Caleb Williams is reaching the next milestone. I mean, just check another box, right? A game-winning drive. We've been talking about it. We were hoping at some point this season we'd see him take the ball left have the ball in his hands with 2 minutes left in the game, and he has to go out there and win. And he did it. He did exactly what he was told to do. It's exactly what he was supposed to do, and the Bears should have won that game. Second positive is feeding off DeAndre Swift. The Bears are establishing the run game. It's not even just DeAndre Swift. I mean, just the offensive line, everything. When it comes to the run game, the Bears look good. When the run game, they look good. The offensive line looks better than they do in pass protection. They look good at run protection. The Caleb Williams looks good when they're running the ball. DeAndre Swift looks good running the ball. Roshan Johnson looks
It's
like
okay if that's your identity, Bears.
Yeah,
just stick with that. That's
what we'd
okay.
like to see,
Go with
right?
that.
My biggest negatives for sure are the same as you. I mean, the coaching staff, no doubt about it, absolutely just atrocious. This is 3 games out of the year now. 3 games out of the year now that the Shane Waldron has been the worst part of this team, no doubt about it. And then the other negative for me in particular would be that just the lack of accountability. I mean, it's just like, and I know that goes into coaching, but the players themselves as well, guys. I mean, the pre-snap penalties, the boneheaded plays, the doing stupid stuff, the taunting the crowd. I mean, guys, at some point, the players have to take pride in themselves as well. So not just the coach telling them to stop being assholes. At some point, the players have to go, the team is bigger than me. The team is bigger than I am.
Cole Kmet. That's why I like Cole Kmet a lot. When you
you need guys like that.
That's where
more
he's
guys
at.
like that.
He's a leader on this team, and that's a huge positive for this team if we're talking about it.
I'll tell you this: sports hasn't made me think about drinking bleach in a long time, but I almost did last night.
Sean, don't do it. Don't do it. You got friends, man. Just call us. We'll talk it out, man. You don't gotta drink bleach. It's okay.
Oh my
You
God.
have resources, man. We'll help.
Sean, you want to wrap it up, or do you guys have anything else?
Yeah, we'll put this on. Hey guys, don't forget.
Hey, real quick, Zach Lipsy. Biggest positive was Caleb coming alive when Romo called him out and saying, "All right, you had a rough game, but what do you do in the biggest moments with pressure on the line?" Echoing what you guys were saying, but I just want to get Zach in there because that's
100%.
Yeah.
And you know what? That was awesome that Romo was like, "What are you going to do now, Caleb?" And Caleb went down there and scored that touchdown. It was awesome.
Tony Romo is fucking killing it this year. Everybody kind of dogged him last year. He had like a bad slump or something, but he is killing it this
So
year.
what Sean's about to say is the best.
You know exactly
It's
what I'm about to
soul-crushing.
say. This
It's
is soul
soul-crushing.
crushing. It's exactly right, because before that 13-yard pass, he goes, Terry McLaurin's going to run it out for 13 yards.
He
on
said
this
it
play
exactly.
right here.
And the Bears couldn't figure it out.
He was literally drawing it as Terry McLaurin was running it.
He was like following him. He's like, see, now here he goes. Yep, he's up. Oh, there's the cut. Like Tony Romo is awesome. Tony Romo and Tom Brady together would be awesome, dude. That would be awesome.
Oh, dude.
They can't. They do this.
Yeah,
I know
about
because they're the
that.
same. Yeah, they're both
Yeah, I
the
don't know about
analysts. The analysts instead
Color
of just
court.
Zebediah hasn't considered drinking bleach since Tressman.
Well,
John Fox, dude. John Fox.
Don't do it, Jedediah.
Oh, you know,
Don't
Tressman
do
was
it.
another guy who was kind of similar to Matt Eberflus. I mean, Tressman was a terrible head coach, but their offense actually scored points. He was a decent offensive coordinator, not as good as a coordinator as Matt Eberflus on the defensive side. But Tressman, the Bears were top 10 in scoring that season.
Kyle,
This season,
really quick.
Tressman was.
Before we get out of here, this brings up Bears should hire Romo. I wanted to ask you guys tonight. I would prefer Ben Johnson, but say Ben Johnson isn't available. Give me your second choice.
My first choice is Bill Belichick. My first choice is Bill Belichick. My first choice is Bill Belichick.
I'll tell you why. I think Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams with these weapons would be freaking amazing.
I think Bill Belichick has experience playing with a really good coaching with a really good quarterback. Bill Belichick can handle that too, I think.
And defense.
Bill Belichick is an actual CEO of a team. He controls every aspect of his team, every detail.
Well,
he gets the ingredients too. That's
Bill Belichick will be inheriting a really good defense. And
do you think Bill Belichick's a good coach again, though? Does he say he wants to?
Well, let's exclude.
That's his whole life. Bro.
Let's exclude another.
He's on every podcast breaking down film every goddamn day.
This is all another defensive coach. Who would you hire as an offensive coach? You'd hire Ben Johnson, Sean?
I want Ben.
Well,
I want Ben Johnson last year.
Ben, you talking about making a lateral move to offensive coordinator? Or are you talking about making?
No,
an
I'm
offensive
talking
No,
about
he's the
replacing
head
Matt
coach.
Eberflus.
I mean, Ben Johnson or Kubiak are my number 1 and number 2, but what I'd like to see the Bears do if they do end up firing Matt Eberflus, which they should, is I want to see the Bears try to make like Eric Washington the defensive coordinator, because you don't want to lose that terminology and all those schemes. I mean, the Bears defense is exactly where it should be. You don't want to change anything about it at all. But if Matt Eberflus gets fired,
you wouldn't be making him the defensive coordinator because he already
He is the defensive coordinator.
I guess I'd say truly the
If that
defensive
is your
coordinator.
real
Yeah,
name.
Who calls plays?
Kyle, yeah, no, you're right. He's supposed to be that.
I mean, I'd like to see them. It's been happened before.
But
The Bears did it
I-
with Vic Fangio.
Sean-
They made a coaching change. They retained Vic Fangio as defensive coordinator. They've done
Sean,
it before.
a name that I Liam Cohen, who coaches the Buccaneers offense.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought even without Evans and Godwin, I still thought. I mean, that team's gonna.
Yeah, with
Justin,
Evans
you're
and
right.
Godwin, they win
Baker
that game.
Mayfield's a
They
stud.
win that game. With
Baker
Evans and
Mayfield's
Godwin,
a
they win that
stud.
game.
He can play football. That offense is going to be good, and I think Liam Cohen, to me, is quietly becoming the best head coach candidate available
It's just
outside of
tough. It's just-
Belichick and Vrabel and
It's
proven
just tough,
guys.
man. Like Dustin, I agree with Dustin. Like the good thing about Belichick is he's a good leader of men. Like Liam Cohen might be an
I'm talking
offensive
about- yeah, but I'm
genius, but
talking
he
about
doesn't
Kyle.
like having uncomfortable
Kyle, you didn't-
conversations. You
I
don't
said
know.
the best candidate that isn't an already established head coach like Bill Belichick.
Yeah, it's
and
tough,
Vrabel.
man. It's tough. You want to see a guy who can have uncomfortable conversations. And I don't
like
think Matt
that,
Eberflus
Zach.
is willing to do that.
No, I want
How do you
someone that
slow
will
it?
create a culture for this team that lives on for years, that you
Yeah.
can just start filling. You put insert person A, person B, and you can continue that. Bill Belichick, Jim Harbaugh, those are guys. John Harbaugh, Andy Reid, those are guys that establish who their team is, and
Yeah.
nobody who comes
I
to play
agree.
them has any question about what
Yeah.
they're going up against in that game, because
You want-
this is their identity.
Yeah, you
That's
want
what
you want a Wes Welker, then you replace him with Danny Amendola, and then you replace him with Julian Edelman, and they're all the same shit because the coach is so good and knows
The
where to
coach
take the
has his
best out of
systems in
everybody
place.
on the
He
field.
has his fingers
Yeah.
on everything.
Yeah,
Yes.
I agree. I'd like to see
Eberflus is not that guy, guys.
No,
Eberflus
he's
does
not.
not.
He is not that guy.
team like those guys do, and he's never going to. I don't think he has that capability. I don't think he does. So
Hey
That's
boys,
why I
we
want Belichick.
put a bow on this. Kyle and I will turn the page on Wednesday to the desert when we get to face the Dachshund of the Desert, Kyler Murray. We'll talk about that come Wednesday. Thursday night, catch these boys after the Thursday night game. They're gonna hop over on Chicago Sports Podcast.
Dennis
now
and Brandon on the bare minimum.
on what's that?
Dennis and Brandon on the bare minimum.
Who's Dennis?
You called
You
him
called me
Dennis.
Dennis
You called
last
him
week.
Dennis last
Yeah.
week.
Oh, did I?
because you were looking at the
Dustin.
chat.
Dustin and Brandon.
We'll do the bare minimum Thursday at 11:30 Central, guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
guys, we'll be breaking down the Bears Cardinals on the Barely There podcast Wednesday. He'll switch over to Dustin and Brandon Thursday night, the Bare Minimum podcast. Everybody out there, we appreciate you guys in the chat. We appreciate Roof Street
Everybody.
Tavern, Ideal Amusements, our two sponsors.
Like and
you know,
subscribe, guys.
Yep, please, Elizabeth.
Thank you for being here.
Breaking News, Bruce,
Thanks, guys.
Dano,
Thanks, JT is
Kyle,
all good. QB
Scott.
school.
Happy birthday,
Jebediah
Scott.
Harper, Ant Mass.
Ant Mass. We appreciate all you guys.
Lipsy,
Thanks for the
Dano.
comment.
Yep.
You guys don't understand. It makes the show so much easier when you guys put comments in there. It gives us more to talk about. It's
Ooh,
different
I like
perspectives.
this. JT O'Sullivan as an offensive coordinator for the Bears.
That's what I
would
said.
love
I said
that.
QB. I said QB school.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I didn't hear you say that. But yeah,
I mean,
that
how would you guys feel? Honestly, tell me your guys' honest. What would your immediate feeling be if the Bears come out and they say, "Hey, the Bears announced they're hiring Peyton Manning as the next Chicago Bears head coach"? What would you? How would you?
Fuck yeah. I'm
I
with
mean,
that.
you'd be happy?
I'm with that all day.
be
Peyton
happy.
Manning, dude. I don't know if he would want to do that, but if he does, he's going to be all in because he's all in with everything he does. So,
He's really
yes.
good, dude. I would
Yes.
take Peyton Manning.
And he's a great football mind on both sides.
And then
of
your
the football.
defensive coordinator could
He's
be like
dissected
Mike
defenses
Vrabel.
his whole life.
Yeah,
So
'cause
he
he's
knows how
like
to
a-
put one
he's
together.
got
I would
like
try.
a-
I would
he's
try to
got
get Mike
like a-
Vrabel on the staff.
He's got
so-
like a youth program or something he runs, I think.
Yeah.
Well, he seems like a no bullshit kind of guy to me. That's one thing.
Well,
that
he's
sticks out
a
to me.
leader.
Yeah.
You know that.
He is a
Yeah, he's-
leader.
Yeah, he's definitely a no bullshit. Who is
Thank
the
you.
running
Anything
back?
Anything you want to get out there before you wrap up?
Shit, fuck Green Bay.
All right. Yeah.
All right, sorry, we can't end the show without that. Until
Fuck
next,
yeah.
hopefully next week we'll be back for River Street Bears Victory Monday instead of just Bears recap River Street Monday. So until then, we'll see y'all on Wednesday. Thank you, love you all so much. Thanks for hanging out with four bozos on a Monday night. Really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thanks for spending your time with us. That's amazing.
Four
Three
stars.
guys and a
Thanks,
bullshit.
guys.